minimising the risk of surface flooding, but there is always potential for that. We met with all the local authorities yesterday, principal response agencies and the key utilities, and we heard that the arrangements to have in place to respond as quickly as possible once this storm blows through.
2 people have been charged to court following a police pursuit in Coal Island, Tyrone yesterday, in which 2 officers were injured. A 36-year-old man has been charged with criminal damage and a number of driving offences, including dangerous driving and driving while unfit through drink or drugs. He's due to appear before Dungannon Magistrates Court today. Meanwhile, a 29-year-old woman has also been charged with a number of driving offences, including dangerous driving and cruelty to children. She is due to appear before Dungannon Magistrates Court on Wednesday, the 22nd of October. The capital programme supporting the new €41 million veterinary college at Donegal ATU has been formally approved by the Department of Further and Higher Education and the Department of Agriculture. The facility will be located at Carnamugga and Letterkenny and is expected to be completed for the 2028-29 school year. Donegal ATU was selected as one of 2 institutions expanding their third level veterinary medicine places alongside South East Technological University. Minister Charlie McConlogue says this investment shows a vote of confidence in farming in the Northwest.
Really significant from the point of view of agriculture and farming in the Northwest that prior to this we've only had 1 veterinary college in the history of the state on the island, based in Dublin, and with the announcement, thankfully I was able to announce as Minister for Agriculture that there would be 2, one in Letterkenny in conjunction with Mount Bellew and also one in the southeast based in the South East Technological University.
People are being warned of the growing threat of investment fraud. Gardaí say there's been a 21% increase in the past 3 months. Over €8.5 million has been stolen through investment fraud to the end of July. Most victims between 2020 and 2024 were middle-aged to elderly people, with a rise in bogus investment ads online. And now for the weather. Storm Amy will bring heavy rain and very windy conditions today. Rain will move in from the southwest through the morning, heavy at times and possibly leading to spot flooding. Rain will clear eastwards by the afternoon, followed by scattered showers, heavy at times. High temperatures of 15 to 16 degrees. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with another update and the obituary notices at 10 o'clock.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And very good morning to you. This is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. Donal Kavanagh on the programme this morning. Greg and the team very shortly hitting the road for Kilkenny. We'll tell you more about that as the show goes on. But it's me here for the next 3 hours until noon, as the name of the show would suggest. We have our Friday panel just coming up. We'll introduce you to those in just a moment. Lots of other stuff to do as well on the programme this morning, including our legal advice with Solicitor Seamus Gunn, always a popular spot on the programme. But as we always say, at the centre of this programme are your views, your perspectives and your take on the issues of the day, or indeed the issues you want to see raised. You can make contact with the programme on 086 60 25000 with text or WhatsApp messages. You can call us, of course, 074 91 25000 and stick the 003537 prefix before the 9125,000 if you're outside of the dialing area. We're on social media, of course, at Highland Radio on X, Highland Hub on Facebook, and various other social media platforms as well. You can, of course, watch the programme. Our participants in the Friday panel are all on Zoom. You can watch that conversation on your smart TV, on YouTube, on Highland Radio Ireland, and indeed on Facebook as well. And you can, of course, interact through those platforms too. So without further ado, let's introduce you to our Friday panel, and a very good morning to all of them. We're joined by Leonard Watson, the owner of Watson's Menswear in Letterkenny, and a very senior figure within Chamber in Letterkenny. Leonard, good morning.
Good morning.
Councillor Declan Meehan, independent councillor in the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, with a particular interest, of course, in the Milford electoral area. That's Declan, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Brendan Byrne, who is CEO of the Irish Fish Processors and Exporters, and of course a former member and Cahirlach of Donegal County Council as well. Brendan, great to talk to you as always.
Good morning, Donal.
We're going to start our discussion this morning, I suppose, with what is the pressing international headline at the moment, and that's the boarding of the vessels on the Gaza flotilla by Israeli naval forces in international waters. And a lot of people asking the question, what should Ireland's response be to what is, in effect, a flagrant abuse of international maritime law? Brendan, as a man who's lived by the sea and is working with fish processors and exporters and has the marine in his blood, what's your take on this whole issue?
Well, the boarding of any vessel in international waters by any navy of any country is totally illegal. And what was done to the flotilla, I think one vessel, to be fair and balanced, was in the waters of Gaza, whereas the others were international waters. So the boarding of them, and indeed the seizing of the vessel and the arresting of the people therein, is a total illegal act on the part of Israel. But that won't surprise any or shock any of your listeners today, because everything Israel has done in the last period in Gaza or in the Golan Heights or in the West Bank, which they've done for the last 30 to 40 years, has been illegal in international law. But yet we do not have a United Nations that functions. Different governments throughout the world have condemned that act. The Irish government did yesterday. But until such time as we have real pressure, now we have a lot of international countries condemning Israel, but the main supporter of Israel remains the United States of America. And they're supplying them with weapons to murder in genocide fashion and innocent, unarmed people. And they've done that for the last 3 years.
You did mention the UN there, and one of the issues with the UN obviously is going to be if other countries, Ireland included, try to bring up any sort of resolution targeting Israel, what will inevitably happen is it'll be vetoed by the US. And the same will hold, for instance, if you try to do something against Russia or China, one of the others will veto that. So you have almost a situation of permanent stalemate on the UN, where whatever action you try to take, one of the big countries will be there to actually stymie it and cut it off at the pass, as it were.
The United Nations has become the League of Nations, which are completely eunuch in approach. They're powerless. And I think they've got worse, actually. And this is the real problem. Now, I know Ireland has the Occupied Territories Bill sitting on our statute book since 2018. That won't make a blind bit of difference to where we are here. So what Ireland does, in line with Spain, which has led out with this in terms of the EU countries, we just continue to condemn it. You can't send it to the United Nations because, as you correctly state, it'll be vetoed. So we just have to keep at it. The one encouraging thing I thought about the flotilla this time around, the first time there was a flotilla, I think there was 2 to 3 vessels. This time there was 46. Please God, the next time there's a flotilla, there'll be 500 or 600. And they can't all be stopped. And you'll break the blockade. That is the only way it'll be done eventually.
Councillor Declan Meehan, I know you take an interest on this issue. What's your take on what's happened over the past 48 hours?
Yeah, look, I suppose Brendan has stated it very clearly and correctly that any country which boards a ship in international waters is acting illegally. And look, at Israel as a state has been acting illegally under international law since its foundation in the 40s and has been acting with impunity since then as well, because it has been allowed to do so primarily by the United States of America, but also by some of the countries in Europe, both inside and outside the European Union. Donal, you rightly say that, the UN is not really going to be an effective arbiter or an enforcer here when it comes to holding Israel to account. And so the Irish state has to do everything within its power to influence policy at a European level, but it also must enact the Occupied Territories Bill. And we've heard some kind of, I suppose, comments about or questioning the effectiveness of such a move. But what I would counter that with is, if it's such an ineffective move for Ireland to carry forward, then why is Israel resisting it so much? And the reason for that is that since Ireland has seriously started talking about enacting the Occupied Territories Bill, you have 8 other European countries within the EU talking about doing likewise. And that has pushed the dial at a European Commission level, particularly with the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, about actually breaking and suspending the trade agreement that's currently in place. So it's a very effective piece of legislation, not because of the amount of trade that Ireland is doing with Israel through the occupied territories, but actually about the influence that that has. And Israel understands that, which is why they have launched an international campaign, particularly through the United States, but also through the European Union, about trying to dissuade Ireland from doing just that. One of the things that I'm very concerned about, Donal, is this government of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the various independents hemming and hawing about actually passing that legislation. As Brendan said, it has been on the books since Senator Francis Black brought it in 2018 through the Seanad. And we were promised last year by both the leaders of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael that this would be passed. It has gone through legislative scrutiny through the Houses of the Oireachtas. The recommendation from the Foreign Affairs Committee was that that legislation should include both services and goods, even though the draft legislation released by the government only said services. And yet we still see this hemming and hawing about it and a reluctance to actually pass it. The government of Ireland should have absolutely nothing left in its arsenal when it comes to tackling Israel in whatever small or large way that it can. And yet there are things still left in the government's arsenal, and the Occupied Territories Bill is a key component of that.
I want to go to you, Leonard Watson, because obviously you're a man who understands business, and as Declan indicated there are goods and there are services. The government is focusing on the issue of goods, and Simon Harris, the Taoiseach, and others were questioning, well, can we bring services into this, and will that have an impact? As someone who's involved in trade, involved in commerce, involved in business at the coalface, I mean, services and trade, really, if services aren't included in the Occupied Territories Bill, it's going to be effectively ineffective.
Yeah, no, but still the elephant in the room is Trump too. Like, as I said, sad to say that we're as a world we're relying on Trump maybe to finish this war. I do think Netanyahu fears him, but I would fear too. I know about the Occupied Territories Bill not there, but unless it's a united European bill, I would fear that Trump would take it out in Ireland. He's a rogue. You just don't know what on a given day, he could turn around and punish Ireland for being the first country to go. I would love to see United Europe do it. I think you're looking at a regime in Israel that has no moral compass. Like, the law just does not mean anything to them. Like, but the whole trade thing is, I would love to see the whole of Europe just stop trading with Israel. Like, and it does seem to be the only thing that will probably hurt them. Like, because nothing else with America behind them, nothing else seems to hurt them. Like, they're just. But I do think now, if this new plan that Trump has come up with, if Hamas would just go with it now, you could see an end of the war fairly quickly.
Part of the problem with Trump, though, is Trump will say black at 11 o'clock in the morning. He'll say white at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 7 o'clock at night he'll deny he said anything. But this new deal, I'll stay with Leonard on this one, because this deal that Trump is proposing, is anyone going to take this seriously in the Arab world when he has himself at the head and Tony Blair by his side, given Tony Blair's record on weapons of mass destruction back in the day?
Donal, you want to your point, but sometimes you have to give the elephant in the room the top table. He's got an ego, and sometimes you have to massage that ego. And if you do put him at the top of the table, he will want to get this done. If he's leading us out, he'll want to get this done. And the Arab nations seem to be kind of behind it anyway. Like, so, but something has to be done. Donal, at the end of the day, there's children being murdered every day. This war has to stop. And we have to rebuild Palestine too. And there has to be the two-state solution. So, should it be Trump at the top? Who cares? As long as this stops.
Do you have any faith, Brendan Byrne, that Donald Trump's latest initiative can gain some traction and actually be effective?
No, because there's too little detail in the plan. There's no deadlines, there's no commitments. I think it was a put together plan just to take some of the international pressure that was growing on the American administration for the famine that we see in Gaza, the amount of death that is in Gaza, and the sheer brutality of the Israeli forces in continuing going into Gaza City. I don't think it's a genuine plan at all, to be fair. I would be very worried when he self-appointed himself to lead it. His plan a year ago was to make a holiday resort out of Gaza. So we need to be realistic here. But I think the European Union, who in fairness didn't didn't show much leadership in terms of Gaza, particularly Ursula von der Leyen. The fact that she is now coming in stronger on the side of the Palestinian people is encouraging. Now, we have talked about the Occupied Territories Bill of 2018. I think for Ireland to go alone in adopting that would be a 24-hour cycle. That's all it would. We have to bring other EU states with us. And the fact that Ursula von der Leyen has done an about turn and other states are now gravitating towards very severe trade measures against Israel is where we need to go. And we should use the fact that we have this bill on our statute book to be adopted as a lever in going to that space where we have at least 8, 10 or 15 of the 27 countries to put sanctions on Israel. Now, sanctions on Israel won't make a blind bit of difference because they have international access to the greatest cash reserves known to mankind in the world through the Jewish banking system. But it's a start. But it's public opinion and shedding a light. There is famine. There is a famine in Gaza caused by an army of occupation. The last time we've heard of that was in 1900 in South Africa with the British Army and the Boers. That's how far back in time and in history we've gone with the savage approach of Israel.
Declan, I want to give the final word to you on this issue before we go to a break. I mean, certainly from what Brendan is saying, he doesn't hold out much hope for this Trump deal. Leonard is saying give it a chance. What's your take on this? Is it true what both Leonard and Brendan seem to agree that Ireland working on its own is not going to be effective here? It's going to take the whole of Europe and even more international pressure here.
Well, I think first of all, in terms of this so-called peace deal, this Trump-led deal, I think it's absolutely ludicrous, and I think it insults all of our intelligence to even have it put on the table. A deal which does not involve Palestinians is one which is destined to fail. I think that regardless of whether the Arab countries are, the mood music is good there or not, an awful lot of these Arab countries are dictatorships. They're not democracies. They're more interested in money and normalizing relations with Israel, as we've seen from the last Trump administration. That was the carrot for them to normalize relations with Israel. So I'd be very skeptical of their support of it. I think when you look at the scant detail that we do have around this deal, the language of corporate America is very much to the fore. They talk about boards, directors, chairpersons, etc. It's absolutely ludicrous to have someone like Tony Blair or indeed President Trump at the head of any of this. There's no credibility to this whatsoever. In terms of Ireland acting alone, I think that, look, at the Occupied Territories Bill, I believe is something that is incredibly important to pass. As I say, I don't believe that anything should be left in the tank on behalf of the Irish state. And I think that in doing so, we will actually set a precedent like we did previously with South Africa during apartheid. And I believe that it is having effect currently, and I believe that there is strength in numbers. The issue that we have, we talk about, and you've mentioned it, Donal, and we've all mentioned it, around the United Nations basically being impotent because of the fact of the American veto when it comes to Israel. The difficulty that we have within the European Union is we have to contend with Germany, and Germany are currently selling arms to Israel as well. They're the second biggest exporter of arms to Israel, and they are, supporting Israel in this genocide. So that is something that we have to contend with at a European level, and so we have to act on our own initially to build pressure within the European Union, which is currently working, but we need to get it over the line.
Certainly food for thought there. I can tell you, by the way, that in our second hour we're going to have Seamus Gunn with the legal spot, and Seamus is going to speak a little bit more about the whole legal implications of the Israeli actions and the legality regarding maritime law. So we're going to have a chat about that with Seamus in the second hour. I'm going to take a break at this point. When we come back, I want to talk about an issue that was discussed on the programme yesterday, raised by Councillor Micheál Colm-Asbach, and that's sustainable tourism and how to ensure that models of tourism within local communities benefit rather than hamper those communities. We'll hit that topic after this break.
Discover amazing deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagori, Strabane. Enjoy a 2-course menu for £19.95 Monday to Friday, Euro for pound night Wednesday and steak night Thursday. Sunday carvery from 12:30 to 3:30. Party packages and function rooms available. Call 02871 382905 to book.
Poor Sandra. She's bedbound, burning up, wishing she'd gone to Boots. Her throat's sore, head's pounding, and on top of all that, now she's worried she's missing out. Because judging from the group chat, she's just missed a great night with friends. Make the most of this winter and help protect yourself and the people around you. Get your winter flu and COVID-19 vaccinations at Boots. Book yours in-store or at boots.ie/flu. Boots. With you for life. Eligibility criteria apply. Charges may apply subject to availability.
October is here and things are getting spooky at your local Maple store. Stock up on all your favourite autumn snacks, warm treats and Halloween goodies. And don't forget to call in store to collect your Halloween colouring competition sheets for a chance to win spectacular prizes. Visit Maple Express Burton Port, Derrybeg, Ballyliffin, Moville or your local Maple store. Keeping it fresh, local and convenient. Follow your local Maple store on Facebook for more.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Members of the public are also reminded that the burning of domestic, industrial, agricultural and construction waste is an offence under the Waste Management Act 1996. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
23 minutes past 9 o'clock. Welcome back to the 9 till noon show and welcome back to our Friday panel. We are joined on the show this morning by Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear in Letterkenny, by Councillor Declan Meehan, independent member of Donegal County Council representing the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, and Brendan Byrne, who is a former member and Cahirlock of Donegal County Council and indeed CEO of the Irish Fish Producers and Exporters Association. As I indicated before the break, I want to talk about tourism here for a bit because there was a very interesting discussion on the programme yesterday and it was raised by Councillor Micheál Cullen. They're having a special workshop in the Glenties Municipal District. I suspect this is one that could be picked up in other areas as well. And the question basically is sustainable tourism. How do we ensure that models of tourism within local communities are advantaging and supporting rather than the opposite in those communities? I want to go to you first, Leonard. Obviously, the Chamber in Letterkenny takes a very keen interest in tourism as well and liaises regularly with the council, tourism authorities and others on this. How important is it that when a tourism initiative is announced, it does rise all boats and the whole community benefits?
You know, Donal. We're a county that relies a lot on tourism. You know, it's the Wild Atlantic Way in that, but it has to be sustainable. You know, there has to be a balance. And you know, even there, looking over the last while, you know, we have a property shortage in Donegal, and you look at the prices of properties. You look at property comes on the market now in Downings or Carrigart or something. It's astronomical, the price. Like, so how does the local person that wants to stay in their community, you know, to their family in the community, they can't compete, like. And then the problem is then we have a booming economy during the summer months yet, but then in the winter months, some of these businesses are closing down. There's not the population there to keep them going. So again, sometimes it's a false economy. Look, it looks great during the summer and the place is booming. I've been around places like Dunfanny and that there during the summer, absolutely booming, and it's great to see. But the problem is it sustainable then during the winter months? You know, you're looking at them, people have to go further afield for employment, businesses closing down. And it just doesn't give a right feel into a community. Like, you know, it's kind of from darkness to light nearly. That's kind of, you have so much going on and then you have nothing going on. So it has to be sustainable. Like, you know, towns like Letterkenny, that we have enough going on that, you know, tourism, the more tourists come on, the better. But we still have a sustainable business community after the tourists are away. Like, that's the smaller areas that.
The argument is, though, that one of your problems in the smaller areas like Dunfanny is that property in the area, the price of property and the structure of the property market is such that it's all holiday homes, it's all Airbnbs, it's all short-term lets. And even if someone is raised in Dunfanny and wants to live in Dunfanny, the reality is they can't because they're priced out of the market. And that's why when all the holidaymakers are gone, the place appears to be dead.
Yeah.
Is that the case, or are we taking Airbnb and short-term lets and sort of making them the big bad wolf on which we're going to hang the blame for everything?
Well, Joe, there's two things here, Donal. Like, we have a property shortage. We're not building enough homes in the county. And that's all over the county. That's Letterkenny. That is places like Carrigart, Downings. And the problem then now is the price. The price has rocketed everywhere. Like, rents have rocketed. Like, and now with Airbnbs, they are taking so much property out of the market for the person who wants to maybe rent a home, or rare a family in them areas. So it's just, I don't know, it's like a vicious circle. Like we need to build more property. That's the elephant. We definitely need to build more homes, and it's to balance holiday homes, but homes for people to live and rare families and stay in their communities. Like,
Brendan, you're based in one of the most beautiful and scenic areas of Donegal, with some of the biggest attractions in the county almost on your doorstep. In terms of this whole issue of sustainable tourism, do you feel within your community that they've found the right balance, that sustainable tourism is a feature in Southwest Donegal?
Well, I think in terms of the question, we're conflating two very key issues that are facing us as a society. The property shortage, as Leonard has highlighted, and the need to develop tourism. If we're to develop rural Ireland, one of the key drivers of that will be tourism. And if you compare and contrast Donegal with Kerry, Cork, even Clare, we're grossly underdeveloped. So I think we need to be careful with our language here. Tourism that we've developed here in Southwest Donegal with Steve League and Glen Colmkill and Killybegs as a maritime tourism venue has been sustainably developed with regard to the environment. But let's not conflate sustainability and sustainable tourism with a housing shortage. And I think if we go down that road, we're sending out the wrong signals. So we need to decouple this and be reasonable in our argument and our approach. Donegal as a tourism destination has more to offer than the rest of Ireland put together, but it is very much underdeveloped. And what we should be discussing here today is how we develop further in the Downings or in Gweedore or anywhere around the county to build it to the level that Kerry has for the last century. That's the key driver that we need to be doing if we're focused on the economic well-being of Donegal and its people.
Is it the case then, should members of Donegal County Council and others then actually go to Kerry, sit down with their compatriots, be it at a Lama meeting or be it on the fringes of another meeting, and actually have the conversation and say, what are you doing that we're not doing?
Well, they have had the advantage of doing exactly what they are doing for the last 100 years. We're late into the game, and to try to link future tourism development with sustainable tourism vis-a-vis the housing crisis that we have, I think we're going to go backwards if we start linking that. I think there's no economic argument or economic theory or thought process I could justify even debating that. We need to decouple these two things, and we need to be investing heavily in tourism. Tourism can be the greatest job creator in Donegal, and Leonard is right. We should be developing and lengthening the season. There's a lot to offer here in the winter as well as their summer. Yeah. But we need to be careful with our language here.
Do you think then briefly that it's a mistake to say that a property that isn't being offered for B&B will automatically become a rental property in which a local person can live?
Well, look, markets find their own level. That's the basic principle of economics. Now, we're not going to rewrite the economic theories of all those scholars that have gone before us. And I travel a lot because of the fishing. It's amazing the amount of times I actually stay in an Airbnb when I go to Brussels. And if we're going to try to say in Donegal or in the west of Ireland, we're going to curtail or restrict Airbnbs, and that'll add to the sustainability aspect of our housing crisis, then that's the wrong message to send out. Now, I haven't had the advantage of hearing what the councillor said, so I'm debating here at a disadvantage, but I'm debating this on the macro theory of let market forces dictate and don't conflate two key issues. One is the need to tourism develop, and two, the need to provide housing, which is a separate issue.
Councillor Declan Meehan, the rest of us can theorise and postulate about what Donegal County Council should or shouldn't do. You're in the position where you'll be the ones who are doing it. What say you?
Firstly, I just want to welcome, I suppose, Councillor McKellar Aspig's contribution to this yesterday, and the workshop that he's called for in the Glenties MD, I think, is a timely one, and it's one that I've sought off the back of his proposal for the Letterkenny Milford MD as well. And I suppose I agree and disagree with Brendan there, right? I do think that there's two issues that we have to discuss here. We have to discuss greater supports for tourism, right? But we also and I think it's impossible to divorce the two from the housing crisis. And here's why. If you talk to anyone in Downings or in Rathmullen who are from those villages, just two villages as examples, the people who are my age and younger are finding it increasingly impossible to purchase or to build, to even buy a site in those communities, because they are getting priced out by their own success as tourist destinations. And that's the reality. And that's what we have here, where you have, and it's the same all over the country, but I think it's felt more acutely in rural communities, particularly, or when compared to larger towns. And that is the reality that people are faced with, is being priced out of the market, because when a house goes up, you're not competing with other local people, you're competing with often an international market who want a piece of land in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, which is the Milford electoral area, of course. So that is, we can't really divorce the two. What I think that we need to do in terms of the housing issue is, and I think, again, this is acutely felt in rural communities, but also Gaeltacht communities, where people who are being priced out of the market. We need to have state intervention where more social housing has been built. There's currently no social housing planned in any of our Gaeltacht communities in the Milford electoral area, as an example, and that's something that I am pushing for and pushing for hard. But the other thing that we need to do is we need to introduce specific targeted schemes for these holiday destination type villages, where affordable home schemes can allow people who are local to stay within their own communities. That is a mechanism that's available to the government that should be leveraged to ensure the growth and vibrancy of local people living in these beautiful rural communities. The second part then around the sustainability of tourism. Tourism is fantastic. It's a fantastic economic driver. There's an awful lot of people who are dependent on it. There's an awful lot of us who also enjoy it as well as benefit from it. We need to invest in our infrastructure. It is a fact that only 12% of visitors to the island of Ireland come north of the Dublin-Galway line. A huge part of that is not because we don't have as good an offering, it's because we don't have basic things like roads and rail. It's not as easy to get to Donegal from Galway or Dublin as it is to get to Kerry. That's a huge issue. The other thing is we need to invest in our off-season and our shoulder season. And one thing that I raised during budget negotiations last year, unsuccessfully I might add, in Donegal County Council, and this is really a departmental issue in Dublin, is that we're giving out just under €50,000 to festivals in Donegal, just under €50,000 through the County Council. That's a pitiful amount of money. And what we need is we need to be investing much more into communities. When you think of all the community and voluntary festivals, the length and breadth of Donegal, the huge economic boost that gives to those communities. We think of any of them, they're hugely successful. They take an awful lot of work and they take an awful lot of money. We should have targeted schemes with much more money available for the off-season and the shoulder season to extend that season. An awful lot of our hotels, our pubs and our restaurants are near empty over the winter, apart from the busy Christmas season. So there's a lot more that we can be doing, both to help the tourism sector, but also to help local people in tourism destinations to get a home in their own community.
Leonard, as someone who's been involved in organising events and festivals around Letterkenny with your chamber hat on, I'm sure what Declan just said is something that resonates very much with you.
Yeah, Joe, Declan's right in that there. Like, I didn't actually notice that smaller figure, Declan 50,000. Like we run a St. Patrick's Day parade and things. I know it's not a festival, but it's a big event. We get no funding towards it at all. And then I would hear what Derry City get towards their Christmas lights or their fireworks. It's astronomical. Like what they get towards their Christmas lights every year is multiples of that budget there, Declan. So it is something that we're not investing enough in. And Declan's right. If these events being run through the winter or different events, it would keep people about. It would bring visitors. It would make the whole thing sustainable. But Declan's right. Declan's right too. We're not building enough houses. I know at the moment now there's a couple of big sites that's going to start in Letterkenny, but it's around the county. It's in them smaller areas. We need to be building homes that'll let people stay in their area, and so if they have to travel maybe half an hour for work of that, but they can stay in their area and keep these areas sustainable. and keep the areas going. Like so, but again, the extra 50,000 is absolute madness. I couldn't believe that.
I want to raise a quick issue. We've had a query come in from someone, and I'll just go to each of the panel briefly, if I may. Caller says, good morning. What are your guests' views on Glenveigh Castle tours being closed on 2 days a week? And that's an issue we've had discussed on a number of occasions over the past couple of months. I'll go to you first, if I may, Councillor Declan Meehan. Glenveigh closed 2 days a week. Is that 2 days of lost opportunity?
Yeah, of course it is. It's absolutely 2 days of lost opportunity. I think that we have had issues with the OPW managing some of our fantastic sites across Donegal over recent years, whether that was in Newmills, in Glenveigh, in Glebe. And it's not ever to undervalue the fantastic work that our OPW managers and OPW staff are doing in those locations. They're fantastic stewards of those fantastic assets and amenities, and they're fantastic tour guides. I mean, any visit to an OPW property is a fantastic experience, but they need the resources to be able to fully leverage those fantastic destinations, to be open to the public and to bring visitors into the area. And it's not just about visitors to Donegal, it's also about local people valuing what they have on their doorstep. So OPW funding and OPW resources of places like Glenveigh and other OPW properties is really, really important, and it's something that needs to be addressed. I mean, we can't talk about sustainable tourism if we're not going to also address the systemic underfunding that exists from Dublin into Donegal amenities. We really need to see more money put into it. We need to see every support possible given for our OPW properties and all tourism sector to have a fighting chance in a very, very competitive market across Ireland.
Brendan Byrne, whenever tourism facilities in Donegal are mentioned, Slieve League obviously is up at the top, but Glenveigh Castle is always inevitably up toward the top as well. I mean, Glenveigh closed 2 days a week. Your thoughts?
Well, my initial thought was that was Mucker's house in Killarney. Do you think it would be closed for 2 days a week? Not at all. It's about prioritising, and this is back to the argument that I was having. Let's not over-confuse the thing. We have two separate issues, but for it to be closed for 2 days is nonsensical.
Leonard Watson?
Yeah, Joe, I agree with the two boys. That's just purely financial. This is down to the OPW not getting enough money. And as Declan said, this would not be happening down the country. And this is probably one of the key destinations within Donegal. And we're closing it down 2 days a week, which is absolute madness.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have a discussion about Snapchat and the fact that very soon, if you want to preserve your memories on Snapchat, you're going to have to pay.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Hi, Teresa Mannion here with a road safety alert for bad weather. Your vehicle may be blown off course in strong winds, so slow down. Watch out too for vehicles and cyclists veering across the road and fallen debris like branches. Visit rsa.ie from the Road Safety Authority.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Halliford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor, with a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Halliford.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently has a vacancy for a welcome advisor. Successful applicants will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
Shannon Airport has handy parking, famously short queues, a great bunch of people, seamless security and a list of amazing destinations to fly to. So it really is a shortcut to your next holiday. Which means it's a shortcut to Broadway nights in New York, coffee and croissants in Paris, tapas and boulevards in Madrid, or reindeer rides and northern lights in Lapland. So whatever destination you choose, enjoy a hassle-free airport experience. Shannon Airport. making it easy.
Experience a magical night of traditional Irish folk with Trasna, Ger O'Donnell and Trevor Sexton, masters of guitar, flute, banjo, whistle, double bass and more. Saturday, 18th of October at Anchurch Hotel, Gidor. Tickets €25. Accommodation packages available. Book at anchurchhotel.com or hotel reception.
This Saturday, the Donegal Senior Ladies Championship winners will be crowned, with Termon and Glenfin set to go head-to-head for the title. Join Diarmuid Doherty and Maureen O'Donnell for coverage from the 4:30 throw-in at the O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny this Saturday afternoon. Highlands coverage of the Donegal Senior Ladies Championship final is with your number one for oil prices, o'donnellfuels.ie. From the pitch to your home, O'Donnell's brings the heat.
At Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, the stars shine brighter. This isn't just a trip to the movies, it's a VIP experience. Sit back in luxury as your favourite pizza,
yummy,
hot food and a cold drink are delivered right to your seat in any studio. But for the ultimate treat, step into the Director's Lounge, our most popular destination. Enjoy the film, enjoy the food and savour the experience. Only at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You're worried her mum wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Stay warm for less with Homeland's October mega deals. Buy 5 bags of Cozy Glow smokeless coal, get a bag of Harvest Flame 30 litre free. Kiln dried hardwood, log crate, only €249, save €50. All this and more until October 21st. In-store and online at homeland.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Well, the two words you're going to hear an awful lot today are Storm Amy, and indeed Storm Amy is on the way, and Storm Amy is going to bring some very windy conditions today. Rain moving in from the southwest throughout the morning, heavy at times, possibly leading to some spot flooding. That rain will clear in the afternoon, followed by scattered showers, heavy at times, strong to gale force south to southwest winds veering westerly, increasing to strong to violent storm force at times in coastal areas, especially over the course of the afternoon and evening. Top temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Remember, a yellow wind warning kicks in at 12 noon, and that will be upgraded to an orange warning from 2 o'clock this afternoon, and that will be in effect until in around about 10 o'clock tonight. Just a few of your comments before we go further. Great discussion, caller says, same as the car tax office. This is referencing the Glenveigh opening hours. The car tax office now only open 2 days and at certain times. The recycling centre in Cairn as well. These issues need to be looked at. When will all these virtue signallers move on from Ukraine and Gaza and focus on the less fashionable conflicts throughout the globe? Sudan, Nigeria, where 55,000 Christians have been killed, hundreds of thousands forced from their homes, and 1,800 churches burned by Islamic terrorists. Strange why they haven't jumped on that bandwagon, says a listener. Weapons still going through Shannon in Irish airspace. Government have done nothing about it. That makes Micheál Martin and Simon Harris complicit. Another caller said, good morning. What we need to remember is that Palestine was the aggressor in this war. They started it. They're now crying that they're losing the flotilla. What the flotilla was doing was an illegal act. There is a blockade. Is it illegal to have a blockade in international waters? We'll raise that issue with Seamus Gunn, as I said, in the second hour of the programme. What the hell were those people doing there, asks the caller. It's such a stupid stunt. Why do these people not sort out our government first? The Irish state should mind its own business. They'd be better off trying to sort out other countries than sorting out our own. This government is a complete and utter joke. Why is the UN not in Palestine in a peacekeeping force? UN soldiers have prevented genocide around the world. As we said, a large part of the issue there is the fact that any attempt at UN level to get peacekeepers into Gaza, I suspect, would be blocked by the US. And everything Israel has done to date has been illegal. They will continue to do so as long as Europe continues to trade with them. We're now beginning to see a backlash, and this will soon be impossible to stop. Okay, let's go back to the panel members and an issue that's been discussed over the course of this week. Now, I'm going to be honest and upfront. This is of no consequence whatsoever to me. I do not do Snapchat. I do Facebook, and Facebook is pretty much the only social media I do, to be honest. But Snapchat have announced they're now going to charge for storage. So if you have put messages and stuff up on Snapchat and you want to keep it, you're going to have to pay from now on. And it got me wondering, are we now over-reliant on social media effectively to preserve our memories? There was a time when we would all have photo albums on a shelf and we'd pick the albums down and look at them, and then we'd put the book back on the shelf and we always knew where it was. Now it seems an awful lot of us are keeping our pictures digitally in the cloud and running the risk of potentially losing them in the case of any form of digital disaster. Leonard, in terms of Snapchat, I don't know if you're on it or not, because I'm not, so I can't say who is or isn't. But from the point of view of Snapchat charging to preserve your photographs and preserve your memories, are we relying too much on this now?
Well, I'm going to answer the question. You said, somebody asked me one time, are you on Snapchat? I said, no, I'm 50.
Well, I'm 61, so obviously.
Do you know what, Donal, this is just something doesn't bother me. I like my daughter's on Snapchat, and I was chatting to her last night. But Donal, you're right. We used to take pictures at one time of special occasions, and as you say, you kept an album out there. Now we're taking pictures of everything, and you sit in the cafe and you look around, you see kids and they're taking all these selfies and pouting and all this here. And I'd say if they actually looked into the albums, there's probably more pictures of nothing than anything. Again, doesn't care to be let them charge whatever they want. I think if it gets people off social media, it'll be far better for all our young people. There's just too much now reliance on social media. But again, it doesn't rock my boat anyway. Let them charge whatever they want. It's a profiteering thing anyway. But again, if it gets kids off social media, I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I've just looked. I've got 23,700 photographs on this. So, perhaps I can't really talk.
You do a lot of pouting there, Donal. Yeah.
No, I don't pout. And of those 23,000, I suspect about 10 are selfies, to be honest. And half of those were for sort of things like passport applications and boarding cards for ships and stuff. Declan, to yourself, in terms of social media, I'm sure as a councillor, as someone who's a public figure, you're going to have to use it. You're going to have to be present and be very active on it. But are we over-reliant on it?
Well, as you said there, Donal, it's a very effective tool when it's used correctly. Being able to communicate and connect with the electorate, with your constituents, I think it's a really important way of keeping people up to date. I'm active on a political way across Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm not on Snapchat. Are we too reliant on I suppose, the cloud for our memories? Yeah, I guess we are to a certain extent, but there's positives and negatives to that. The positives are, everyone's phone usually throws up a memory even from their own photos. Sometimes it's compiled into a video or whatever, and it might be something you've forgotten. I suppose that's the point. But it's quite nice sometimes to get those memories back up. Similar to you, I think there's tens of thousands of photos that I have on my phone. I'm sure, like most of them, as Leonard said, are of nothing or duplicates or whatever else. I think that, we're over-reliant on technology for absolutely everything. So it only stands to reason that also we're going to be over-reliant on it for memory. I think that, Leonard also is correct in saying that anything that gets people off social media is probably a positive thing, particularly young people. I just don't think that this measure is going to have that effect. I think Snapchat is actually one of the primary ways that young people actually communicate with one another, more so even than phone or text. A colleague of mine was telling a story about their child's friend coming over to the house. They're like something about pickups and saying, what's their number? What's their phone number? And the child just looked at the parent and said, their phone number? What are you talking about? That's not how they communicate. So Snapchat is. So if Snapchat are monetizing it, that's only to be expected. And I don't think it'll have a huge effect on people leaving because I think people are very, very dependent on it.
There's a comedian called Gary Gilman who said recently in a routine that he was asked about his phone, and he said, using the phone, you mean a phone call? He said, yeah, the phone, he said, is a very rarely used app on my phone, was the way he described a phone. I know if my own daughter was listening to this, she'd be going, 4 men of a certain age talking about something of which they know nothing. Brendan, can you enlighten the rest of us? Would you be a Snapchat user?
No, well, Leonard declared he's 50. Unfortunately, I've declared I'm 51. My daughter is all over Snapchat. I'm not. I use other social medias like X and Facebook. But I think this is the reality of where we are. And I have to use the dreaded word, data centers. This is what data centers are for. And we're trying to bring in a national policy, no more data centers. Denmark likewise. But the reality is building data centers, maintaining data centers costs money. And we are, well, we are not, because we're the dinosaurs here. We're not like our daughters or sons. This is where the new generation is going. Everything is in the cloud. I don't know how these clouds function, but I know they're in a data center anyway. But it's going to be the new norm. This is where it is. In our day, Donal, emails were the new buzzword, and you put them in a folder, and there you are, and you had them on a hard drive. That's the black and white telly of our times now. Everything has moved on, but everything is going to be commercial, and anyone that thinks it's not going to be commercial is kind of fooling themselves, really. But this is where the argument of data centers goes. We need more and more of them, because this is the society that we have.
I have told the story before that when my daughter was heading in toward about 6th class in primary school, she would have been in around about 12. And she was asking for a mobile phone, and we were saying, no, you won't get a mobile phone at least until you're in secondary school. And she says, well, what age were you when you got your first mobile? And I said 34. But I want to raise a couple of other issues before we go. And it's been wonderful speaking to our panel, as it always is. And I'm going to go back to you, Brendan, in a few moments. I want to talk about fish, because I know there's been a lot of concern expressed this week about mackerel. I want to get your expert view on that. But before we do, I want to very briefly raise the presidential election and a lot of coverage over the past 2 days about Catherine Connolly and the fact that she hired an assistant who had a criminal record. Now, the assistant had done her time and served her sentence as a model prisoner, had left Irigi, the proscribed organisation of which she had been a member, and she had I'm going to take that back. I'm not sure if Irigi is proscribed, so please scratch that comment from the record. There's a lot of suggestion that maybe Catherine Connolly was showed bad judgment or did the wrong thing. Her argument is that no, this person was rehabilitated, had done their time, and I believe it's my responsibility to support someone who has been rehabilitated. Leonard, what would be your take on that?
Well, you know what, actually, I started reading about this yesterday. When you heard the story first, you thought, this was bad on her behalf, it was a kind of big slip. But then I read Eamon O'Keefe's part, where actually he recommended this lady to Catherine Connolly, and you read all the stuff that she's actually doing now in the community, like she's teaching Irish, she's doing a lot of community work. She has left her past in the past, going by everything that Eamon O'Keefe had said, and the fact that he recommended it, and he was actually very annoyed that nobody actually rang him to ask him about it first before Micheál Martin then went public on it to condemn this. Listen, at the end of the day, she served her sentence. She's changed her life around. There's a lot of people in the community, maybe through alcohol or drugs, that have turned their life around and are the better for it. And we have to give them a chance to move on with their life. And at the end of the day, I was just looking to Catherine Connolly was personally signing this lady in and out of the Dáil. She wasn't walking on her own. She wasn't, she hadn't access to the whole place. So I think it's a nothing story. I think it's very sad in this lady. She's not part of the election. She served her sentence. She's getting on with her life. She's 2 young children. It's sad that this had to be thrown out there now just for political scoring.
Declan?
Yeah, I agree with Leonard on that. I think that Catherine Connolly covered this extremely well and articulately when she was speaking to Claire Byrne yesterday on RT Radio 1. And I think the points that she made about the whole point of a penal system is actually around rehabilitation and the excellent work that prison services do around that. Not always successfully, but certainly it seems in this case that it was successful in that this woman turned her life around and obviously stepped away from previous life that she had, got herself a PhD, etc. I mean, what is the point in a prison system, and what is the point in fixed term sentences if it is not to rehabilitate people? I think also there is an awful lot of hypocrisy around this, Donal, as well. I think it is a storm in a teacup story. They're trying their best to dig up a bit of dirt on Catherine Connolly. It's proven quite difficult. I think that the hypocrisy also lies in the fact that there are actually TDs and senators who over the course of the past 100 years have served terms in the Dáil and Shannon who have convictions themselves for various offences. And I do feel sorry for this woman who has been caught up in this. She's not running for office herself. But I think Catherine Connolly has covered it extremely well, and I would agree with her completely that, the point of the systems that we have is rehabilitation, and when that's successful, there's absolutely no reason why a person cannot be given a second chance.
Brendan, can I ask you to answer this one literally in one sentence and then speak briefly to us, and I mean for 1 minute, on the mackerel situation?
Yeah, well, in fairness, I worked in the Dáil. I think the key point here has been missed by the two previous speakers. I had to get Garda clearance to be in that building as an employee. That wasn't given in this case. There may be a reason why it wasn't given. I think that's the key issue that needs to be addressed by Catherine. If she does that, then it's fine. Employing someone that has a conviction, I have no difficulty in the wide world with that. But you have to conform with the rules of the Dáil, and everyone has to be vetted and Garda cleared to be an employee in that building.
And the situation regarding mackerel?
The situation in regard to mackerel is dire. The ICE's advice that has been issued on Tuesday is providing for a 70% cut in mackerel, 41% cut in blue whiting, 22% cut in boarfish. Those are the three main stocks that would be processed in Killybegs along with other ports in Ireland. If this is the advice that will be adopted by Europe, it will lead to an economic Armageddon in northwest of Ireland and indeed in Castletownbere. You're not talking about hundreds of jobs being lost, you're talking about thousands of jobs being lost, you're talking about multiple factory closures. The service sector upstream and downstream are in dire trouble if this happens. We are already an industry that's struggling because of a historical policy, the common fishery policy in Europe. We were trying to work our way through that, and this is a real hammer blow in terms of the scientific advice, caused in the main by overfishing of Norway, Iceland and the Faroe Islands. This is going to be a massive issue, and unfortunately, because it's fishing, it will not get the national prominence that it should. If any other sector of the economy was given this by way of a policy directive based on science, by the actions of others, it would be all over the Dáil. Fishing isn't, even though fishing still employs 17,000 people, and in Donegal, 19% of the people of this county depend on fishing, either from a service sector or from actually working in the industry.
Brendan Byrne, Leonard Watson, Councillor Declan Meehan, thank you all very much indeed. That's our Friday panel. Time for a break. Kate is here with news after these.
Looking for somewhere special to relax and enjoy great food? Come to the ISA Centre and Celtic Prayer Garden, F93 F104. Every Friday it's Fish and Chip Friday, fresh and delicious. Now opened on Saturdays. Enjoy our all-day breakfasts, the perfect way to catch up with friends. And don't forget our full menu and daily specials served all week. We also cater for groups of any size, so why not come and spend the day with us? Call 07493 848666. The ISA Centre, Island of Saints and Scholars.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.ac.uk or visit Discover CAFRE on Facebook.
Experience an unforgettable evening of gospel music with Patrick Feeney in concert, joined by the Kilcar Community Singers at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, on Sunday 5th of October. All in aid of the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust in memory of Jenna Shovlin. Tickets just €30 on Ticketmaster or local shops displaying the poster. That's Patrick Feeney in concert Sunday 5th of October in Ardra.
Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders show and sale of over 50 SAS approved ram lambs takes place this Friday 3rd of October in Rafo Mart. Selection of females also available. Show at 6, sale at 7. Online bidding via martbids.ie. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, truck! You never know what's coming. Slow down on rural roads. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Katie Gillen with the news at 10 o'clock.
A man is to be further charged in connection with the discovery of a body in Donegal earlier this year. The body of a man was found in Killybegs on April 13th. A man in his 50s is due to appear before Ballyshannon District Court this morning, and Gardaí say investigations are ongoing. Status orange wind warnings will be in effect from 2 o'clock for 5 counties, including Donegal, as Storm Amy arrives. A status yellow wind warning will be in place for the rest of the country from midday, with a warning there may be debris and loose objects around. A status yellow rain warning for Galway and Kerry is now in effect also. Keith Leonard, National Director of Fire and Emergency Management, says his department has met with stakeholders to discuss a response to Storm Amy.
There is the potential for some flooding. Local authorities have been out clearing gullies and making sure, minimising the risk of surface flooding, but there is always potential for that. We met with all the local authorities yesterday, principal response agencies and the key utilities, and we heard that the arrangements they have in place to respond as quickly as possible once this storm blows through.
Meanwhile, schools in counties Derry, Tyrone, Fermanagh and Antrim will close at midday today as a result of Storm Amy. Those counties will fall under an amber alert for wind from 3 o'clock today. The Northern Ireland Education Authority says the decision to close for midday has been taken in the interest of the safety of children and staff. The last boat in the Gaza Aid flotilla is continuing to sail towards the enclave. The Marinette is pressing on despite Israel intercepting its fellow vessels. 16 Irish citizens are among those detained as protests have been held worldwide against Israel's detention of the activists. Amnesty Ireland Executive Director Stephen Bowen says the Irish government must act.
They need to demand their immediate safe release. But I think the question for government all around the world, including the government of Ireland, is not only to secure the safe release of these brave solidarity activists, but also to show that we will not tolerate Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza.
2 people have been charged to court following a police pursuit in Coal Island, Tyrone yesterday, in which 2 officers were injured. A 36-year-old man has been charged with criminal damage and a number of driving offences, including dangerous driving and driving while unfit through drink or drugs. He's due to appear before Dungannon Magistrates Court today. Meanwhile, a 29-year-old woman has also been charged with a number of driving offences, including dangerous driving and cruelty to children. She is due to appear before Dungannon Magistrates Court on Wednesday, the 22nd of October. The capital programme supporting the new €41 million veterinary college at Donegal ATU has been formally approved by the Department of Further and Higher Education and the Department of Agriculture. The facility will be located at Carnamugga in Letterkenny and is expected to be completed for the 2028-29 school year. Donegal ATU was selected as one of 2 institutions expanding their third-level veterinary medicine places alongside South East Technological University. Minister Charlie McConlogue says this investment also shows a vote of confidence in agriculture and farming in the Northwest.
Really significant from the point of view of agriculture and farming in the Northwest that prior to this we've only had 1 veterinary college in the history of the state on the island, based in Dublin, and with the announcement, thankfully I was able to announce as Minister for Agriculture that there would be 2, one in Letterkenny in conjunction with Mount Bellew and also one in the southeast based in the South East Technological University. So it's a really big departure for, but also a real vote of confidence in the agriculture and farming sector in the Northwest.
A cross-border project has been launched to raise awareness of the impacts of frailty. The €8.4 million Peace Plus funded early frailty intervention project is being rolled out by the Cooperation and Working Together. Michaela Clark has more.
The €8.4 million COT Early Frailty Intervention project aims to help raise awareness of the impacts of frailty and to provide individuals with education and community support to promote a proactive approach to maintaining health and well-being. The initiative will focus on early identification of those aged over 55 who are at risk of becoming frail. Through a network of community-based teams, it will provide access to screening, assessment, education and support to empower individuals to maintain independence and manage their health and well-being. This approach supports active ageing and will improve overall health outcomes and well-being for older people. Health Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeil says by identifying and addressing frailty earlier in life, the project will support older people to stay healthier for longer, living independently in their own homes and remaining active within their communities. In turn, she says this will help reduce pressure on emergency departments and support more timely hospital discharges back into the community.
And now for the weather. Storm Amy will bring heavy rain and very windy conditions today. Rain will move in from the southwest through the morning, heavy at times and possibly leading to spot flooding. Rain will clear eastwards by the afternoon, followed by scattered showers, heavy at times, high temperatures of 15 to 16 degrees. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with the headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, October 3rd. The death has taken place of Martha Stewart, née Baxter, Maroe Dunfanaghy, County Donegal. Her remains will be reposing at her home in Maroe today from 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and tomorrow from 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral service in St John's Church, Ballymore on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family and neighbours only on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Lake House Comfort Fund, care of any family member or James Harkin, Funeral Director, Creasla. The death has taken place of Grania Walsh, née Cull, Clonmany, formerly of Ballyliffin and Gweedore. Remains reposing at her daughter Sinead's home at Monya, Linsford, Buncrana. House private from 10 o'clock. Funeral leaving her daughter's home at 1:15 tomorrow afternoon, travelling via Pinch Road and Clonmany for funeral mass at 2 o'clock in St Michael's Church, Irish, with burial in the adjoining graveyard. Mass can be viewed live on clonmanyparish.ie. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to St Columkill Village, Clonmany, care of any family member or Porter's Funeral Directors. The death has taken place in her 102nd year of Susan Ackerman, née Temple, late of 150 Carlton Drive, Strabane, and formerly of Stranorlar. Reposing at her great-grandson Sean Gallagher's home, 18 Carlton Crescent, Strabane, from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 12 noon, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock and before the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Paddy McCrossan, Millbrae, Carndonna. Paddy's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:40, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonna, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on carndonnaparish.com. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Blaine McCarran, Kelly's Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place in Wexford of Bernard Brian Devlin. Brian's remains are reposing at his family home, Boharna, Clonmany. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the new cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to St Columkill Village, care of any family member or Comiskey Funeral Directors. House private, please, from 10 o'clock and before the funeral. A one-way system will be in operation. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Fancy fish tacos tonight? You'll catch some amazing prices at Aldi, that's for sure. The finest Irish breaded haddock goujons are just $2.99. Sour cream at just 89¢. Mixed chilies only 49¢. And 8 mini white tortilla wraps are just 85¢. That's an evening treat at amazing Aldi value, all wrapped up. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
Welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show on this Friday morning. It's the 3rd of October. There is a yellow wind warning coming into effect in the next 2 hours, and then at 2 o'clock this afternoon an orange wind warning comes into effect. I can tell you the weather is actually getting quite heavy out there. The rain is really coming down now. I was out for a walk earlier on this morning and it was quite nice and pleasant, but we knew it was on the way. It's now coming, so as predicted, it's raining and the wind will start to pick up in the coming hours. So please do be careful out there and just bear those warnings in mind as you go about your day. It is Donal Kavanagh on the show this morning, and if you're wondering why it's Donal on the show and not Greg, I can tell you that Greg and Oisín and a large crew from the station are en route to Kilkenny, to the Lyra Estate Hotel in Kilkenny. Oisín is shortlisted for Sports Broadcaster of the Year. The 9 till noon show with Greg is shortlisted for the Best Interactive Speech Programme, and the news team, including Greg and Oisín and Shannon and Caroline and a whole host of support staff, is shortlisted for the local regional news programme, and specifically that's in terms of our election coverage. And this is all part of the IMRO Radio Awards, which are taking place, as we said, tonight in Letterkenny. So Highland nominated in 3 areas, and all the best to the team who are on their way down. Delighted for Oisín, actually, because I mean the work Oisín puts into sport is amazing, and again he's got a great team behind him as well. So and great to see Greg too nominated for the programme, and Caroline and Shannon and the whole team behind it. And look, I'm just going to stress again, look, for all the programmes that get nominated on something like this, the reason they're nominated is we have teams of people whose names you sometimes hear but don't always see, and without them this wouldn't be happening. So look, it's great to be nominated. It's great to be in with a chance of taking these awards, and a really interesting and exciting night to come. I just want to say again a very special thank you to the 3 members of our Friday panel over the course of the first hour. We had Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear in Letterkenny, also a leading figure in Letterkenny Chamber. We had Councillor Declan Meehan, independent councillor on Donegal County Council, representing the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, and we also had Brendan Byrne, a former councillor of course, and the CEO of the Irish Fish Producers and Exporters Association. And if you missed that, or if you didn't get to see it, we will of course be podcasting the programme on our website, highlandradio.com, later on. You can also watch back on our Facebook pages and also on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, where the programme is available to watch, of course, all through the day. Just a few of your comments before we go to the bingo numbers and then a break. And we'll have Seamus Gunn, as we said, after the break, looking at some of your legal questions and also looking at some of the legal issues surrounding that flotilla and the maritime law that has, it's claimed, been breached by Israel. Looking at some of our calls. Caller says, has Ireland not acted illegally against her own people by denying us a choice in the presidential election when they blocked by foul means independent candidates from being on the ballot papers? This corrupt government just wants a flock of sheep captive in their pens. Now, I think, number one, Catherine Connolly would take grave exception to be categorised as a government supporter who's going to keep sheep captive in their pens on the part of the government. I don't think Catherine Connolly or her team would agree with that. And in fairness, I don't think Heather Humphreys and Jim Gavin would agree with that either, but particularly Catherine Connolly. I suppose the answer to that you're going to get from government is that there are processes laid out, and those processes were absolutely followed to the letter, both in terms of the decision of Oireachtas members to nominate, as is their right to nominate, and the decisions of county councils up and down the country. And this is a discussion we'll be having, I suspect, again and again. Just got a note in from the Trenta Presbyterian Church, and they just ask, could you please announce that we are cancelling events this weekend as a result of Storm Amy. A number of events had been scheduled to take place at Trenta Presbyterian Church this weekend. They've been announced on some of our programmes over the past while. But because of the predicted stormy weather, Trenta Church are cancelling the events that were to take place in the church there over the course of the weekend. Caller says we should be talking about how the OPW is managing its funding. Look how quickly we've forgotten the bike sheds, the security huts, and God only knows what else that we haven't heard of. That goes back to the discussion we were having on the closure of Glenveigh Castle for 2 days a week. Caller says $5.50 for a cone last Sunday in Donegal town. Now, if I were paying $5.50 for now, I don't know, is that your standard Mr. Whippy style cone with a flake in it, or is it a specialised gelato cone with your different flavoured ice creams in it? I'm not sure, but certainly if it's a standard Mr. Whippy cone, $5.50, even if it's a 99, that seems very, very high. And I suppose the bottom line is, when it comes to things like cones, if the shop you're buying it in seems to be too exorbitantly expensive, I'm sure there's another shop or a facility not too far away where you may potentially get a better deal. The biggest problem we have is vulture funds and bad government policies. They need to rethink the policy and step up and ban the vulture funds from buying up all the property being built. Local people, especially in rural Ireland, should be able to do whatever they want with their own property. If that means Airbnb or rentals, it's not the government's place to tell people what to do. Citizens should not be punished for bad decisions, so says a caller. People worked, they've paid their taxes, they bought a second house, now they can't let that second house out as they wish just because the government can't build houses. This country is a joke. Caller says, I got a letter from Revenue regarding the property tax for this year. Firstly, I think it's ridiculous that I'm paying a charge for something I've bought and paid for already, but that's the Irish system. Telling me I had to get my house valued for 2026. Being a dutiful citizen, I called to have this done. It cost me €150 for the pleasure for them to try to tell me my house is now valued at €350,000 in today's market. That's some jump for a modest 3-bedroom, 1 sitting room, 1 kitchen and 1 bathroom house built in the 80s. This now leaves my property charge at €330. This year's property tax is now costing me €388 extra, up from the €95 I usually pay. Am I the only one thinking it's time for a revolution? So asks a caller. We briefly discussed in the programme Catherine Connolly and the issue of the person that she had employed who had a criminal record and had done time in prison. A caller says Catherine Connolly did the right thing and Fianna Fáil have a cheek to use this against her. In the next general election they'll be asking for another chance after decades of failure. Hope they have the sense not to call at my door. Another caller says, and we're going back to the flotilla, not one mention of the hostages, no one on the panel to speak for the Jews and Israel. The flotilla is a publicity stunt on behalf of Hamas, an extreme jihad terror group who would do to us what they have done to Israel if and when necessary. Also, a caller asks, can you bring this up? I needed a high-vis top. I went onto the RSA site. Everything is out of stock. Running bib and armbands, they say to wear high-vis, and the RSA can't even stock these. It's been out of stock for some time. I do know that on occasion, the Garda stations will have them. So what I would suggest is potentially, if you were to call your local Garda station, I can give absolutely no guarantees here, but I know certainly from time to time Garda stations will have high-vis available, so you might want to give your local Garda station a call to see what's available there. Right, it's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's 17 minutes past 10. We're going to take a short break. After the break, Seamus Gunn answers your legal questions and we'll be speaking about the legal implications and background to the flotilla and what's been happening over the past 48 hours.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, October 3rd. Playing on a yellow sheet. Reference number is S20. It's week 40. Today's numbers are 40, 83, 44, 34, 7, 13, 49, 70, 43 and 8. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Discover the Address Sligo, your stylish escape on the Wild Atlantic Way. Savour local flavours at North Restaurant. Relax in our indulgent spa and thermal suite. And enjoy breaks from just €160 per night. Book direct at theaddresssligo.com.
The Address is always the right address.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment. All have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, and it's a Friday morning, and that means it is time for our discussion with solicitor Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company in Ramelton and Letterkenny. Seamus, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal. How are we?
Very well indeed.
Congratulations to all the team down in Kilkenny.
Oh, thanks. Well
deserved and well merited, yeah.
Well, the nominations, the nominations certainly are
punching way above their weight, so they are.
Oh well, I couldn't possibly comment on that. As the man says,
they're leaving a good man in the dugout.
Well, I do have skin in the game as well now in what's going on down there too. But hey, happy days. Thanks very much indeed. Seamus, we're going to get to people's legal questions in just a moment. But before we do, we want to talk about maritime law and the whole issue regarding the flotilla. Now, I'm going to declare a kind of an interest in this in terms of maritime law, because way back in the last century, in the 1980s, I spent time on pirate radio ships. One of them coincidentally off the coast of Israel, actually, called the Voice of Peace, and the other, the famous Radio Caroline, in the North Sea, midway between the UK and France. And I've always taken an interest in maritime law from that point of view, because the whole raison d'etre of pirate radio was that international waters were international waters, and no state could interfere with what happened on international waters, provided it was not in direct contravention of maritime law. Now, what we've seen over the course of the past 48 hours is hundreds of activists, 22 in total of them from Ireland, effectively detained and taken to land forcibly by Israeli forces. They were docked into Ashdod, and they are now about to be deported. Those arrangements are in place. What is the legality regarding the decision of the Israeli administration to send out naval vessels and to board the vessels on that flotilla while they were still in international waters?
Well, it's well recognised that the international law recognises the high seas and the freedom of navigation within the high seas. And we're talking about the Mediterranean here and a humanitarian mission. So they should be allowed free passage without any interruption, interference, or hindrance to go about their business. In this particular instance, it is a mission, and it should be allowed to proceed in the normal manner. However, does international law really matter in this case? This is the fundamental point that I think that has to be addressed. In 2024, it was declared that Israel's occupation of Palestine was illegal. That was by the International Court. You have an ICC warrant issued last November 2024 against Benjamin Netanyahu in relation to crimes against humanity and genocide, by the way. And you have him appearing on different world stages, which obviously on ones that don't recognize the ICC. So in relation to the high seas, yes, of course they should have freedom of movement, and they should be able to go about their business and their mission. But international law is not applying. The International Court of Justice's regulations are not being applied. And that is the modus operandi of this entire siege and genocide that is taking place in full view and in Gaza at the moment. And if nothing else, though, what this may achieve, because this isn't going to stop here with this particular flotilla. There's already another one following up 9 or 10 miles out. There's still the Marinette, I think, up to 2 hours ago. It's still forging on to try to reach Gaza. Now, it is, in all probability, going to be intercepted. But there are going to be more following, and that's the important point. And if it does nothing else but garner the support of governments, which have been a little bit lukewarm in their support to date, but if it does do that and that alone, to put the spotlight properly where it should be on Gaza and the atrocities that have been allowed to continue for now coming to the second anniversary, it will have achieved vastly more than they ever could have expected. So that's the whole purpose of the mission. The maritime law is incidental, unfortunately. It should be observed, of course it should be observed, but the law has not been observed anywhere here. You have genocide, so we have famine. You know, how bad can it get? We're talking about people being apprehended on the high seas. They're being brought in. They're probably waiting for a hearing. The first, literally, with regard to the legal status too, if they're going to be deported, they'll have a number of forms likely to fill out, and one of them will be asking or inquiring to accept that they have entered the country illegally. If that's a question that'll be put to them whenever they're incarcerated in Israel, and probably might be even happening now. If they refuse then to sign those, they'll go expected to go before a judge for a hearing within 72 to 96 hours, and then likely be deported. But then it will follow the same again. But once those people have not, those people, the Irish and all the others, up to 500, have been kidnapped actually on the high seas. That's what's happened. Sure, that's in breach of every law, never mind the maritime law.
The irony here too.
But does that matter? That shining the light on that is a side issue as against what this is really all about. And this is about the atrocities that are being allowed to continue on a daily, weekly, hourly basis in Gaza, and the world standing by and witnessing it and really not doing enough about it.
On the basis of what you said, the irony here is, of course, that these people have been forcibly brought to the port of Ashdod against their will by the Israeli forces. So, I mean, did they enter Israel illegally? No. They were brought into Israel against their own wishes. So if the illegality in this situation is on the part of Israel, not on the part of them, they were heading toward Gaza. I will ask you the question, though, because I find this interesting. If Israel, as you said, if the occupation of what we regard as Palestine is illegal, where does the sovereignty, in inverted commas, over that coastline lie? Because we know much of the lands of Palestine would previously have been, in the case of Golan Heights, it would have been in Syria. In the case of, I think Gaza would have previously been Egyptian, if I'm correct, and then a lot of the West Bank would have been with Jordanian. So would Egypt technically then be legally, in the eyes of the UN, the sovereign country that has jurisdiction over that coastline of Gaza?
They haven't made that point yet. If we go back historically, way back, 2,000 years ago, for that 1,000 millennium, Israel would have been in occupation of that particular strip of land, I believe, and then it came to Palestine in the next 1,000 years or so. So that's the divide between them. Now you're asking as to the proposed peace move, which has been put forward by Trump, and all the different points within it are considering some type of international intermediary government that will move in there and govern until such time as the authorities are up and running again and the state agencies are up and running again. And will it then go back to Palestine? Remember that Palestine as a state has now been recognized by an awful lot of the major powers in the world. So it has its right to its own autonomy. Gaza has been razed to the ground as we speak. In the proposed peace initiative, there doesn't seem to be any mention as to who's going to be responsible for the rebuilding of that entire city and that particular land and the restructuring of it. There's an awful lot of grey areas with regard to the proposed peace initiative, whether Hamas are going to now become involved or participate or not. It's in the melting pot, but they probably have no choice, because when was the last time did we hear that Hamas was retaliating against Israelis? It's just an obliteration at the moment. That's what's happening in Gaza, and nothing more than that. So Hamas is nearly, in my view anyway, and I am absolutely no expert, Hamas is more or less practically wiped out on the ground from what any observation from this side of the world would dictate. So in that respect, there's going to have to be some movement with regard to this particular initiative. But again, the elephant in the room is one of the main participants, and the victims, the people of Palestine, haven't been involved in these talks or these proposals. That seems to me to be a big issue, and one that you're going to have to be addressed. And they're also going to have to probably bring in some of the other players like Qatar maybe, and maybe Egypt, as you've said, to see what role that they can play going forward. But I would be horrified to think that whatever good this peace initiative is, that at least it can be advanced somewhat to move matters on. But in the meantime, the flotilla, I think, deserves all our support, and it's very well named as the Summit flotilla, because that means steadfast perseverance in the eyes of adversity, and you have to hand it to those on it for taking their own lives in their own hands and taking severe risks in order to highlight what are the atrocities in Gaza at the moment.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Seamus. Let's move on to some of the legal questions that have been sent to us by our listeners. And if you have a question for Seamus, of course, you can contact inquiries@highlandradio.com. You can text 086 60 25,000, that number good for WhatsApp messages as well. Or you can call 074 91 25,000, 0035 374 91 25,000 if you're outside of the dialing area. Question about a joint account and changes made to it. Now, this is, as I understand it, a case of marriage separation. The account would have had a mandate for both parties to sign. However, a debit card was issued for one person, and then the address on the account was changed to the new address of the estranged husband. This was done without the consent or signature of the other party, the wife. A complaint was launched to the bank. The bank then returned with a statement that the debit card was cancelled, and the account address could only be changed back to the original address with the signature of both parties. And as a gesture of goodwill, the bank has offered €250. This is it's going to take a bit of unpacking, I suspect. But yes. Can legally a change be made to a joint account on the word of one person?
Well, that is a very, very good point. It goes maybe to the kernel point that's in the actual question itself. It's the mandate that you're referencing there. And you would have to tease out as to what the position was with regard to that, because you could have, my understanding in banking, you could have a mandate, you could have a joint account where either party can sign and authorise the dealings on the joint account, or it can be a joint mandate required. Now, we're assuming for the purpose of this question that both signatures are required, and that something was advanced by way of a change in the account by one signature only. I think that the reason why I'm assuming that is that there, at the end of it, which is quite telling, I think, you mentioned a gesture on the bank, a gesture of goodwill, making some type of an offer of 200 or 250 euros. So if there was not some little issue arising, I don't believe that the bank would be making that contribution in the first instance. If it is stated as it actually is, that the mandate required the two signatures, then it should not have been acted upon by one signature only.
It then begs the question, though.
But we would need to know the actual terms of that, to be fair, and to be fair to both sides. If it's a mandate whereby we hold a joint account, but I have the authority, or you have the authority, to sign to deal with the account one signature only, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, either. So that's the key to it. If it was set up in such a way that two signatures are required, I think there is definitely an issue. If the caller is not happy, and this is an avenue open to them, if they are not happy and they don't want to go down the legal route, as it were, to get involved in litigation with a bank, which you could understand why, with the type of monies and the exposure to costs, well, then they could consider going down the route of the Financial Services Ombudsman and raising an issue with them, and they would have a look at it and see, has there been some shortcomings on the bank. But to be fair, in relation to the bank, we can't make a call on that without knowing the actual detail of the mandate and who had the correct authority to sign on it. So I think those are the avenues that are open to the caller to advance it further if they so wish. And I think it is, as I said, it's just instructive that they have made some goodwill offer there, and therefore I think that if they're not satisfied, the financial serviceman ombudsman route might be the way to go, and I don't believe there's a cost involved in that.
Yeah, it's also potentially telling that the bank have apparently sort of said, well, we can only change back to the original address with the signature of both parties. So that's
Very.
potentially telling as well.
Yeah, well, it does. It infers that, but
Yeah.
we're trying to be balanced and being fair to the bank too. So if there was something on the mandate that was different that allowed one to sign, it could form a different view on it. But it is of interest. Yeah.
Next question. My husband's father died 3 years ago. The will has not yet been read. They say they won't read the will and that we can't see it. If we are beneficiaries, can we not see the will? We did get a letter to say that we are beneficiaries. My husband had to sign a document to say that he was a beneficiary, yet we still haven't been told what's in the will. Where do we stand with this? Presumably this is the responsibility of the executors. Or executor, as the case may be, yeah.
And the executor or executors, singular or plural, are the people in charge with responsibility for dealing with the estate after the deceased passes away, for getting all the valuations of property and assets and personal estate of the deceased at the date of death, and proceeding to complete the statement of affairs and the probate papers to admit the will to probate. The caller says there's 3 years has passed and nothing has happened, and yet they have been confirmed that they are beneficiaries. In probate actions, probate situations, there is what's called an executor's year, which is the period of time that it is allowed for the executor to act and to start working on the estate. After that period has passed, and somebody has an interest in the estate as a beneficiary or is a residuary legatee, and there's no action, in circumstances such as that, and they can consult their legal people about this, they could consider then taking an action themselves in the probate court by way of issuing a citation to have the will admitted for probate, to force action on the part of the executor, or to even have them removed as executor and have someone else appointed. So that's the course of action that they might wish to consider, given that the 3 years has passed.
I mean, I'm aware of a case recently where a person was left a small bequest from an uncle of whom they were jointly very, very fond of each other and were close, and the uncle left a small bequest, and I think within about 3 or 4 months of the uncle's death she received a letter informing her that she had been left he had bequeathed a small percentage of his estate to her. The letter included a photocopy of the will, and then there was a notice that this letter from the solicitor said this has not yet been gone through the execution process. This still hasn't gone through probate. We don't know what the figure is. This is going to take some time. But here's a copy of the will. This is the bequest you've been given. And there was a full photocopy included there. So there shouldn't be any impediment to the actual will itself being shared, provided that sort of codicil is added, that it has to go through probate before anything can be drawn down.
Yes, well, I think that what you're inferring there, Donal, in practical terms, communication is key in all these issues. And if people are kept up to speed as to what the position is, I don't think there should be any difficulties arising. In relation to the point about them seeing a full copy of the will, I might slightly disagree on that, in that it's my opinion that it is the referable part of the will in which they have an interest. So, for example, just if somebody has left €100 in a will and they want to see a full copy of the will, well, the executor could say, well, yes, of course you can see the bequest that you have been left, and how it has been recited in the will, and that's what you're entitled to. But you're not entitled to a full copy of the will at this stage. But then after it goes to probate, well, then that could be a different matter.
Another will-related question. If some family members are refusing to send their local solicitor details regarding PPS and so on, will a will go to probate, will this delay the process, and for how long?
Well, yes, it will. It will delay the process, Donal. How long? I'm not in a position to say, because if it sits, it's static. It's a requirement, mandatory requirement actually, that the PPS number of the deceased and the beneficiaries is recorded in order to complete what used to be an Inland Revenue affidavit is now a statement of affairs, and so that is submitted with the probate papers to extract the grant of probate. The reason being, I understand, is in respect of for the purpose of revenue. So, like everyone has, depending on what association you have or relationship you are to the deceased, has a threshold in respect of capital acquisitions tax. And if you're a stranger, it's now up to 20k, and uncle or a nephew or niece or sibling is 40, and then if you are the son, daughter, then it's 10 times that at 400k. So that's the requirement for it. I'm not sure why there's an issue with it. You can, if you haven't had one before, you can apply to the Department of Social Protection and obtain one, even if you haven't been a resident in the state. We have seen it very frequently, actually. If somebody is non-resident in the state here, but is a beneficiary in an estate within this jurisdiction, they still require a PPS number, and it can be applied for here. And it's not at all that onerous. I don't see the difficulty with it, but it is a requirement. And if they're not forthcoming, yes, it will be delayed, and they want to consult with their legal people as to where they go from there.
Let's move on to another question, and I think you hopefully will have seen a copy of this already, Seamus. Can you please ask Seamus to explain what this means on the end of a will? It's very important to see where the family stands to explain this bit. Thank you. Now, it's I don't know if codicil is the right wording here, but it seems to suggest that a residence is being left in equal shares for their own absolute use and benefit, but subject to a right of residence in favour of my carer and personal and devoted friend, the person is named, for the term of her natural life or until such time as she owns a dwelling house of her own. I direct that my executors shall have an absolute discretion with regard to the interpretation of this clause insofar as it relates to the person in question.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's definitely a tricky one. We're back down to the executors. The key to it is the very end. The direct my executors shall have absolute discretion with regard to the interpretation. The interpretation, to me, seems clear enough in that it's from reading it, it's likely that a property has been left in equal shares, so it's more than one share to some people or somebody, and it's subject to this clause. That it's in favour of an individual, that they would be able to live in this dwelling house until such time as they have their own. Now, that's very, very broad. That could mean that they could have their day in it, their right of residence. It doesn't say upkeep, maintenance, and support, but they could have the right of residence in it for their natural life and for the term of their natural life. Or it says then, or until such time as they should have a dwelling house of their own. Now, if they don't activate the or, it says for the term of their natural life. So my interpretation of that is that, if you want me to call it, that is a right of residence in the dwelling house for their lifetime, if they don't buy or obtain for themselves alternate accommodation in a dwelling house of their own. Where the difficulty arises maybe is that it mentions then at the end that there is a discretion with regard to the interpretation of this clause. So how the executors will interpret that, I'm not in a position really to judge that if they want to exercise their discretion, does that mean that they can vary that? Is that using too much discretion? I'm sure the individual who has been left the right could possibly challenge it. So that is where the grey area lies, and that could give rise to difficulties. If you're in a position where you are acting on behalf of the individual who is receiving the benefit of the term in the dwelling house for their natural life, you would be saying, well, that's up to them if they want to exercise that, and they're not obligated to obtain or buy their own home at all. While on the other side, the other interpretation would be maybe the executors would say, well, it's there, it's for convenience, but it's in the anticipation that you will one day own your own home and that you won't be there for the rest of your days. So that's the grey area.
How important is the word absolute in there? Because the word absolute would suggest that there's not necessarily a right to challenge the executor decision. If that word is absolute, the executor can just say, well, it's my right under the wording of the will to decide as I have decided without the need to explain. Absolute is a very straightforward word.
No, but I think you've taken it out of context. The absolute refers to the shares that are left to the individuals for their own right. Absolute.
No, I'm using I think the last line was the absolute discretion of the executor.
To the discretion. Yeah. The absolute is not applying to the discretion.
Yeah.
It's applying to the shares that are left to the individuals for their own use and benefit.
Oh, yeah,
so
but
that's for their own use and benefit, absolutely. So they will entirely own it.
Yeah, of course.
Their own use and benefit, but it's subject to this right for the individual during their natural life to reside in the dwelling house. So that's the point. So it's not an absolute discretion that they're referring to there. It is the rights that go with the shares.
So when they say, I direct that my executors shall have an absolute discretion with regard to the interpretation of this clause.
That just gives them that in that respect, it means that is limited to the executors to interpret
All right.
that.
Yeah. That's right.
But it still gives rise to the same issue as to how they exercise that discretion could be challenged by the individual who's left the right to live in the house, because in that instance there is this element of vagueness for their natural life or until such time down to have a dwelling house of their own. So it's the way it's drafted. It depends what side you're on and how you want to run with it. But certainly you would see that the individual who's given a term of her natural life, that's there in black and white also. So the absolute discretion, it gives them, they're the only ones with the discretion to deal with it. Making a call on it, if it's challenged, it could give rise to litigation. Now, you would want to have to seriously look at the costs and consequences of going down that route, and may never arise. The individual may, of course, get their own home and everything move on. So, but there is just that grey area in it.
Seamus Gunn,
in which lawyers love, by the way.
Yeah, Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn Solicitors, Ramelton and Letterkenny. Thank you very much indeed, as always, Seamus. It's always a pleasure, and people can look forward to hearing your sage advice and commentary on the show very shortly in the future. But for now, Seamus, thank you.
Thank you, Donal.
Okay, it's 10:47. I'm going to take a short break. Back after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin final sale of the year. 2-day sale starts Friday 3rd of October and finishing 3 p.m. Saturday October 4th. 20% off all tiles, 10% off bathware and wood flooring. Job lots available. Remember, at Crawford Tiles Castlefin, we've got it covered for you. Call 91-43942. Fitters and delivery available.
Autumn is alive with a kaleidoscope of colour, nature and adventure at National Trust NI. Unwind and relax with a crunchy leaf walk through Llewellyn Garden. Sample the finest seasonal food at Florence Court's Harvest Fair. Gaze into the majestic mirror-like lake at Mount Stewart. And breathe in the beautiful garden at Castle Ward. Or delight with frightful fun on one of our trails this Halloween half-term. Come along and make wonderful memories this autumn. Search National Trust NI today.
It's Cabaret 25 at Harvey's Point. We start again on Wednesday, September the 3rd, and every Wednesday until November the 5th. An amazing lineup of stars, gourmet food, the warmest of welcomes, and all in the beautiful surrounds of Harvey's Point on Lough Esk, Donegal Town. Book today 074 972 2208 or harveyspoint.com. The Harvey's Point Cabaret, a night not to be missed.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Loncombe have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Loncombe products, want to be skincare, and you'll get a free 7-piece gift of your choice of either Renergy or Hydrocent travel size creams and more iconic Loncombe products. This offer is available until Saturday the 11th of October, or while stocks last. Some T's and C's apply. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to myself or any staff member here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Become a qualified scaffolder. SafeTech are running a 7-day basic scaffolding course in Donegal starting October 28th. Also running advanced scaffolding in Donegal starting on the 9th of December. Funding available on both programmes. Terms and conditions apply. Contact SafeTech today for your training requirements on 07491 27786 or visit safetech.ie.
From the morning routines to cosy family moments, Grant has been bringing comfort to homes for over 45 years. With our biofuel-compatible condensing boilers, heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home now and into the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.ie.
There's plenty to pick up with special offers this week at Dunn Stores. Like Magnum Classic 3-pack, Bird's Eye Waffles 10-pack and Chicago Town Tiger Crust pizzas. Mix and match any two for €6. Or Tilda Basmati Rice 1 kilogram, Cheerios 800 gram and Pot Noodle multi-packs, now half price. And select Galaxy Minstrels Maltesers and M&M's sharing pouches, also half price. Plus, save more with your 10/50 voucher. Dunn Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on next grocery shop.
Mart's brace for export or boycott. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we reveal why the country's largest exporters are threatening to boycott weanling sales. As budget talks go down to the wire, find out why suckler and sheep payments are at risk, how surging TB numbers pile pressure on other schemes, and why the budget spotlight is on farm tax reliefs. Warning over fertiliser supplies next spring. Plus, don't miss our special autumn beef breeding focus. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Ready to upgrade your car? At Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town, we've got a great selection of makes and models to suit every budget. With flexible finance option and trade-ins welcome, upgrading has never been easier. Visit ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to see us at Shane Conley Cars, Drumlonagher, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Well, the rain really picking up out there at the moment, and Storm Amy is well and truly on the way. Heavy rain and windy conditions today. The rain will clear eastwards by the afternoon, but there could be some spot flooding in the interim. That'll be followed by scattered showers, heavy at times. Strong to gale force, south to southwest winds veering westerly will increase to storm or violent storm force at times, particularly along coastal areas this afternoon and evening. Top temperatures today 15 to 17 degrees Celsius, and as we've said, the yellow wind warning that's coming into effect at midday will become an orange wind warning from 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, as the old saying goes, please be careful out there. And we're just getting some notifications in from people who are predicting what may be happening. We mentioned this already. Trenta Presbyterian Church, due to the predicted stormy weather and safety concerns, Trenta Church has taken the regrettable decision to postpone events that were taking place this weekend. We hope to do something again in early spring, and we hope to see you then. Also, KG Rovers Bingo will be cancelled tonight as a result of that orange weather warning. Now, we're going to go to our guest in studio. Delighted to be joined by Mary Herlihy, who's manager of Donegal Women's Centre. Mary, great to see you. Good morning, Donal. And it's great to have you. The Women's Centre, in collaboration with a panel of skilled facilitators, has launched a series of transformative programmes aimed at supporting women who have been through the probation or judicial system. This is an important one, isn't it?
Oh, it's very important. I suppose through our work with the centre, we realised that behind every scenario, there's a woman there who has suffered extreme trauma or domestic abuse or neglect, or there's always a reason. And women going through the judicial system started to become more of an issue with our clients and the people that we work with. So it was a matter of sitting down and trying to address the issue from a holistic, gender-based view on why this was happening. So the programmes came to be then through actually our work with the clients on what their needs were. And obviously there is the court system, there is the probation, there's community service, there's all of that. But there was nothing there to look after them from a health and well-being point of view, from a mental health, from a non-judgmental place. And that's where we stepped in. This is our third year running this one of the programmes, and this new one that we've just launched is particularly new, and it came from feedback within the group itself on what they would like as they integrate back into the community again.
I suppose one of the things that someone who's been through the judicial system needs is hope. And hope is going to be very important in terms of rehabilitation, because if you can see a future, you'll work for that future. If you can't see a future, then we're going down a slippery slope.
Absolutely, and that is vital. It's that hope and non-judgmental. It doesn't matter what they have done. They will, I suppose, pay their price or serve their time or whatever it is, the sayings that we put on it. But it is hope and it's non-judgment. And it is that there is a future after whatever they have done, for whatever reason that they have done that particular crime. And we're talking, pretty low level stuff, but obviously it has an impact on the community. But we tend to see it from the community's point of view and not from the person themselves. And that's where these programmes are vital. We see beyond what has happened, why they were in court. It doesn't really matter, but it is giving them that hope, that future. And that then feeds into security for the children, within the family, within the wider family and within the community. So they become more integrated back into their community and essentially back into themselves, to have that space to look at what was going on for me, where was I going, the reasons I made the decision, or maybe not knowing why I made the decision at the time to do whatever it was. But I know I can move past it. It doesn't make me the person that I am.
How important is it that things like education feed into this process as well, education, support, and perhaps saying to someone, look, there are courses you can do, there's a road you can go down that can maybe better equip you to make better decisions into the future, and also perhaps equip you to re-enter the workforce or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this project, is that we're working with a skilled panel of facilitators, so they understand, and coming from a trauma-informed centre, that there is that understanding of what made the woman that she is today, what was going on, and that education, that awareness, that those skills of resilience, those resources, the toolkit that they'll walk away with. And one of the things was that some of the women wanted to go back into employment, but were very hesitant because of their background, because of having a conviction. Others wanted to start up their own businesses, doing various things. But again, it was that the judgment, I have a conviction, will that come against me? So it is about normalising it. It is about saying, look, this has happened. You've paid your dues. Let's move on. What's next? And how we can support you. And very often these women may have left school early. There can be a lot of issues maybe that they didn't get into the same opportunities maybe as other people have. And then we have others that are in very well, very good jobs and just made a bad decision in a matter of seconds. None of that matters, once they're in the room. And we don't focus on why they're there. They're just a group like every other group. So it's not about sitting and saying, I did this or I did that. It is about having that hope. It's about empowering the women to take back their own power. It is about making sure that they have the skills and the resources going forward.
How do people get involved? I mean, obviously, there's going to be a certain amount of self-referral, but are you taking referrals through other sources as well? Or how if someone is in a position where they could benefit from this, how do they get in touch, or what's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two programmes. So one of them is a health and wellbeing programme, and the other is this education piece, this empowering about getting back into the workforce or self-employment. So they just contact the centre. We will take referrals from solicitors, from the court system, from guards, from GPs, public health nurses, anybody who's working with a woman who finds herself in this position and thinks, actually, I know a programme that might be of use. So we take referrals from anybody. Family members and friends are also very welcome to ring us, along with that self-referral piece as well. So it's wide open. There's no criteria that you have to meet. You may be out of the system for a while and interested in starting back into employment or self-employment, and you're very welcome to contact us as well. So it's wide open, and it's from any age, from the age of 17 up. So there's no we're keeping it as barrier free as we can, and to encourage people to come into us. With that, there's also some counselling available as well as part of the programme, and they can avail of both programmes or either one of them. So it's just whatever the woman is able to commit to and feels the right path for her to go forward with.
I won't ask you to comment on a specific case, but it's very interesting that we do have a huge front page news story at the moment about a woman who's been through prison, and the whole question of what does rehabilitation actually mean. Is this discussion going to be a help or a hindrance?
I think it's all a help. I think it all brings an awareness to it. And I just saw the headline very quickly this morning. But, you know, in general, it is about bringing awareness to what has happened. To having a conviction doesn't mean you can never be a fully member of society or of community. You can't go out to work. It's certainly the opposite. I think there can be a misunderstanding around what rehabilitation means. And more data is coming out to show that the prison system is not working. It's not suitable. It's having an ongoing effect on families and communities, on children especially. So, you know, having a conviction shouldn't prevent, and it shouldn't be really front news or, you know, subject of a gossip around the kitchen table. If you have a conviction, you have it, but you know, we should be encouraging people to move on and I suppose get back into their communities again, you know. So yeah, I think it's all about raising awareness and seeing, okay, these are our beliefs and our judgments at the time, but maybe we're not right. Maybe we need to look at this a little bit different.
So perhaps that is still your message. What you're saying to people is effectively, we're not looking back, we're looking forward.
Correct. That's it. Yeah, it's that hope piece. Yeah, that we bring to everybody.
Mary, if people want to get in touch, we'll put the details obviously up on our socials as well. They can contact you through the Donegal Women's Centre, or they can contact you directly, or you'll also take referrals from elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Mary Herlihy, manager of the Donegal Women's Centre, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Donal. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be a bit late, but news with Katie after these.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
It's CFC Interior's 50th anniversary, and we're marking the milestone with our biggest ever sale, the Furniture Show NI 50th edition. Get bigger discounts, more offers and giveaways across all departments. Only at CFC Interior's Campsie, Derry, Cookstown and Abbey Centre. Hurry, the Furniture Show NI 50th edition sale is now on.
Live electricity wires are always near, and coming close to them can be dangerous. So always ask yourself, are you sure it's safe? Look out for electricity wires above and below you. If in doubt, call us on 1-800-372-999. It might just save your life. ESB Networks. Stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires.
Flowgas Solar can save a business thousands on their electricity bills. Just ask Brian Kennedy from Kennedy Spar, Ballyconnell.
By installing our panels, we'll save over €10,000 a year on energy costs. That's a no-brainer for a business like ours.
You can save on solar too. Visit flowgas.ie/business or call 041 214 9500. Terms and conditions apply. Savings based on generating 49,000 kilowatt hours per year, equivalent to savings of over €10,000 annually based off 12 months.
Hey, look what Mum got at the supermarket.
I can't cook that. It's fish.
It's easy, Dad. Hake is handy in the pan. Trout is perfect in a tray bake. Even mussels are ready in minutes.
But timing, the temperature, it's frightening. It's fish.
Shh. Give it a go. It's healthy and tasty too.
Don't be scared of seafood. Pick up some today for a dinner that's
surprisingly easy to cook.
Find meal inspiration at boardbia.ie.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's 4 minutes past 11 o'clock. Time for news headlines, and with apologies for my lateness, good morning to Katie Gillen.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. A man is to be further charged in connection with the discovery of a body in County Donegal earlier this year. The body of a man was found in Killybegs on April 13th. A man in his 50s was due to appear before Ballyshannon District Court this morning, and Gardaí say investigations are ongoing. A status orange wind warning has been extended to 6 counties along the west coast. It comes into effect for Donegal, Leitrim, Sligo, Mayo and Galway and Clare at 2 o'clock as Storm Amy makes landfall. A status yellow wind warning will be in place for the rest of the country from midday, with a status yellow rain alert for Galway and Kerry already in place. Schools have been closed in some parts of the north, with various amber and yellow alerts issued by the UK Met Office. Meanwhile, a Midlands North West MEP has warned Donegal remains dangerously exposed to extreme weather events. It's after the Climate Change Advisory Council confirmed that no all-of-government emergency plan is in place yet, 9 months on from Storm Éowyn. MEP Ciara Mullooly has praised ESB crews, local volunteers and emergency staff for their work during the storm, but says the lack of preparedness left Ireland dependent on outside help. 5 sets of historic skeletal human remains have been found during the excavation at the former mother and baby home in Tuam. The remains are consistent with the workhouse era of 1841 to 1918, before the site housed the mother and baby institution, and are undergoing analysis. The excavation has been ongoing for 10 weeks, with the latest discoveries also including shoes and glass baby bottle feeders dating back to the institutional era. The works aim to recover and analyse the remains of what are believed to be nearly 800 infants buried at the site, and are expected to last 2 years. The Global Summit flotilla says all of its vessels have been detained by Israel. Its live tracker shows the last remaining boat, the Marnet, was marked as intercepted this morning. 16 Irish activists continue to be detained. And finally, it's being warned that massive fish quota reductions announced earlier this week could lead to an economic Armageddon in the northwest. On Tuesday, it was announced that the mackerel quota is set to reduce by 70%, equating to approximately €66 million in revenue. Meanwhile, quotas for blue whiting look to be cut by 41%. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with another update at 12 o'clock.
It could be getting Dad that ride-on lawnmower.
And the shed to put it in. And a greenhouse for your mam's veg.
It could be another 20 acres for them both.
Could be massive hedges trimmed to look like them.
Could be the biggest garden Mayo's ever seen.
Could need a gondola to cross their lake.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun.
This is R3 of the 9 till noon show on this Friday morning, the 3rd of October. Just want to let you know a Donegal pro-life gathering that was to have taken place in Letterkenny at lunchtime has been postponed as a result of the weather. Now, a very popular person out there this morning is Mr. Freddie Wilkie, who is retiring today. Lots of requests in, so just want to say, could you please play a special request for Freddie Wilkie, retiring from Donegal Creameries this weekend, a huge loss to the town and surrounding areas. Congratulations and thanks a mil for everything from Mickey Lynch and all at Tesco in Letterkenny. Also wishing Freddie all the best from everyone at Mr. Chippy. I want to put in a request for my dear brother Freddie, who's retiring today. Please play the fastest milkman in the Northwest. Now's the time to slow down and enjoy happy retirement. Love, Margot. So Freddie, for the moment your name officially is now Ernie, it would appear. Please play a special request for Freddie. He's we've done that one. That's the Tesco one again. And all the best to Freddie. He will be missed. And another one, big congratulations to Freddie Wilkie, finishing up with Donegal Creameries after 44 years. That comes from Quiva and from Joey. So Freddie, all the best. Congratulations on a lengthy and very effective career. And you will, it seems quite clear, you will be missed. Also, people saying very good luck to the Highland Radio team who are on their way to Kilkenny today. Bring back the well-deserved awards. The IMRO Radio Awards are underway at the moment. Well, they're not underway. They're taking place this evening. And we have a huge squad going. I mean, there's basically a skeleton staff of about 4 people in this building at the moment, keeping everything together. So all the best to, Greg's gone, Caroline's gone, Shannon's gone, and Oisin, of course, as well, is also nominated. So, hey, happy days, and let's hope something really good comes out of this. Now, let's go to what is a very important issue, because tomorrow, Saturday, is World Stoma Day. Now, that's an issue which we all sort of have a vague notion of sort of what stoma is, but we mightn't be 100% conversant. So let's speak to someone who knows exactly what stoma is and what the implications of stoma are. And that is Victoria Spillane. Victoria joins us. Victoria, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Very well. It's Donal, not Greg. I'm afraid Greg's off in the car going to a party in Kilkenny. You're grand. It usually would be Greg, but he has other things in his mind at the moment. Victoria, you're with Crohn's and Colitis Ireland. And Crohn's and colitis, they're conditions that many people live with, and they're conditions which, to say the least, are highly uncomfortable and can be life-changing.
Absolutely, that's it. And what I always say is that inflammatory bowel disease, it's the umbrella term for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. With Crohn's disease, it can affect anywhere from the mouth down to the back passage. Any of the digestive tract can be inflamed, ulcerated, bleed, and ulcerative colitis then is localized to the large intestine. Now, when I say localized, that makes it sound as if it's just a small area, but the large intestine is a very big piece of the anatomy. And with that, we're seeing a lot more people being diagnosed year on year with inflammatory bowel disease in Ireland. It's noted it's approximately around 50,000 people affected. However, I think it's a lot more than that. A lot more than that. We
Yeah.
just don't have a centralized database to actually get the exact numbers right now. And as a result of more people being diagnosed, we are then seeing more people requiring to have stoma surgery, whether it's to get a temporary stoma or a permanent stoma. So that's why we're just trying to create more awareness, more educational pieces, and more resources for people living with IBD and stomas.
Now, just remind us what a stoma is.
So a stoma. So basically, a stoma. The only way I can describe it is like the old pound coin. For anyone that remember the old pound coin, it's about that size, and it could be on. Like I have a stoma myself, and it's on the right hand side of my abdomen. Others might have it on the left hand side. Others might have it more in the middle, but the majority will have it on the right hand side. It's, as I said, around the size of around a £1 coin, and it's kind of dark pink red in color. And that's actually the very bottom of your small intestine. So that's where they would have snipped away the large intestine from that particular part of the bowel, and it just protrudes slightly onto the abdomen. And then you fit a stoma bag over it, and that will actually collect the fecal matter then, or the waste matter from the body into the stoma bag.
Now, is this what we would also refer to as a colostomy bag, or is that different?
Colostomy bag is slightly different. So, but a lot of people, when I know, like mine is deemed an ileostomy bag because it's permanent, and I have the entirety of my large intestine removed. But I still say colostomy bag to people at times because just to But a colostomy bag is slightly different because you might still have part of the large intestine there, but it's just that it's almost giving the intestine a rest.
Well, as I say, every day is a school day because I would have always sort of equated a stoma and a colostomy bag, and it seems I'm not the only person that does that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
as you say, you have a stoma. I mean, let's talk about how debilitating this is, or isn't, as the case may be, because I don't know you from Adam, but I'm looking at you, I'm looking at your demeanour, I'm looking at your smile, and I don't see a person in front of me who is in any way debilitated or who is in any way allowing this get in the way of a full life.
Oh, absolutely not. See, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 13. I'm now 40, and I was to actually have stoma surgery upon my diagnosis. I was so ill, but they stopped it at the last minute just to try to get me, to save the intestine. I was so young, but I always knew in the back of my head that day would come, and it did when I was 25. So I actually have the bag now over 14 and a half years. And I call it Gynae after the store Mighty Gynaes. There's a whole family backstory to it. So Gynae, that's what we call it.
That's Guiney, not Gynae. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. So Guiney, me and my Gynae, and no, it completely saved my life. It was a life-saving surgery. I had a growth from the Crohn's disease that went undetected in scans, and it was only until they actually done the surgery that they found the growth and it was leaking. And they said another 2 weeks and I wouldn't have been here. So it was actual life-changing surgery. And to be honest, I have lived the quality of life that it gave me back. There was no more needing to plan out where toilets were on a journey. If I was driving from Cork to Dublin or wherever it might be, it just literally gave me my everything back. I've lived such a fulfilling life in the last 14 and a half years. There can be mechanical issues with it. You know, you can get the odd blockage or a leakage or skin issues, but it's better than what the alternative would have been.
Yeah. And well, the alternative, it seems, would have been not being here. Yes, absolutely, infinitely better than that alternative. But in terms of the management of it, and presumably the bag has to be emptied, and presumably, is that the sort of thing you can just sort of discreetly nip into a loo in a building and do in 2 minutes, or is there a bit more to it than that?
At the start, sure, I would have been going out with all supplies of all sorts. I would have been going out with about 10 spare bags and the whole lot. No, I don't. Now it's a case of if there's ways and means. That's the way that I say it. There's ways and means.
Yeah.
So you can discreetly pop in. If I was badly stuck, if I had a little plastic bag with me and I was in a car and I just felt it was after filling so much, And I know, but it's all these little knickknacks that you do, but that's the freedom that it gives you,
Yeah.
that you don't need to worry about having to rush into a toilet. Which is what a lot of us who would have struggled a lot with IBD, that would be in our life for a long time.
And in terms of that management, and this is where I suspect a group like CCI, Crohn's and Colitis Ireland, comes in, because this is the sort of advice you can give someone who is newly diagnosed, perhaps is told, okay, you're going to have a stoma. Now, they're going to be looking at this and thinking, that's it, I can never play football again, I can never go to a disco again, I can certainly not do X, Y, and Z. And I suspect you're there to tell them, well, actually you can. You just need to know this and this little tip, and by the way, this is how I found this out, and you'll have tips that you can pass on and just ease people into this new life.
Absolutely, that's it. You, as I said, you absolutely can. Like what I always say, when you get a diagnosis of IBD, and say if you're told then that you need to have stoma surgery, it is a grieving process that people need to go through, because the normal that one might have had life-wise is changing. You will have a new normal. And what we want to try to do at Crohn's Colitis Ireland is try to have to provide a support to people, to help them get onto that level of acceptance, for them to be able to feel that yes, I can actually go and live life. I can. And especially I think, especially for people that might be entering new relationships, how do they broach that that conversation with someone, etc. All of those little tips and tricks. That's what we're trying to achieve with our webinar tomorrow that we're going to do. Just living well with the stoma. Life doesn't end with a stoma, life begins with a stoma.
And the other thing is, it's very discreet. And I think sometimes people, maybe you think you've been in a hospital and you've seen someone with some form of a bag or something, and you just have this idea in your head, oh my God, I look deformed. I won't ever be able to sit down again. And the evidence in front of me suggests you will. But people will be afraid of the size of this thing and what they have in their head. And I suspect what people have in their head as a vision is very, very different, to say the least, to the reality.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. Sorry, no, I'm just going to plug in my laptop.
Oh, go for it.
Going to die.
Oh, it happens to me every time I'm on a Zoom call for whatever reason.
Okay, we're safe. So no, that's the thing, and it's one of the things that people would have said to me when I got my own bag was, oh, when you go on holidays, what are you going to wear now when you go into the pool or go into the sea? And it's like, I'll wear my swimsuit, my normal two-piece swimsuit. Really? And it's like, yeah, Guiney saved my life. He's part of me. And it's a case of, and what I would have done actually for that very first holiday would have been, I actually got covers for the bag to match the swimsuits I was going to wear, all different colours. No, I don't go to that bother anymore. It was and price and cost. But when I was younger, and it was like, oh, we kind of jazz this up a bit.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it can be as discreet. No one, even when my sister got married a few years ago, obviously everyone in my family knew, but there was some of her friends that might not have known, and they were shocked when they heard, like, she actually has a bag, she's a stoma bag. I was wearing just a normal tight fitting dress the whole lot, and no one else knew. So it can be as discreet, or you can, as people want, or you can put it out there as much as you want as well. But it's certainly, and especially the products nowadays, they are coming on leaps and bounds. There, you've got the companies Coloplast, Be Braun, Hollister. The products themselves, the bags have come on so much. The feel of them, the size of them, they've kind of gotten a little bit smaller, if anything. So yeah, no, it's certainly, you can be as proud as you want and have it on display in certain clothing, or you can cover it up. As I said, it's something where people don't know that people have it. So it's not something where, that's what I'd like for people to know as well, that yes, if you get one, when you're walking down the street, people aren't going to be saying, oh my God, they have a bag. People aren't going to know unless you tell them.
Yeah. Talk to us about the webinar tomorrow, because this is an important weekend, tomorrow being World Stoma Day.
Yes. So this year, this is our first year actually really marking it as big as we are this year. And hopefully next year we can go bigger and better again. But it's Breaking Barriers, Real Talk with Living with a Stoma. And I'll be hosting it myself. We will have Terry Brannigan, who is going to be a patient advocate as well for living with a stoma. We have Aideen Stack, who is a health psychologist. She'll focus on the kind of emotional and mental well-being of living with a stoma. And Eileen Lim-June from Coloplast, she's a clinical nurse specialist, so she'll talk the practicalities. So it's going to be what I would call a fireside chat. We're not going to be by a fireside, unfortunately. We're all going to be in our own respective counties, but fireside chat in the sense that it's going to be informal. There's going to be no slides there that people need to be, so people can be tuned in on their phone, walking around the house, doing whatever they might be in their cars. And it's going to cover all angles, basically, from information that might be there for people who could be pre-op, information for people that could be just on the brink of being told that they might need to have stoma surgery in the future, and those then post-op as well. So it's going to cover absolutely all angles, just to show people that you can live your best life when you have a stoma, and just try to break any stigma, shame, fears that people might have in build up to stoma surgery, or even that they might still be experiencing post stoma surgery. So it's just trying to break those barriers.
And do you want people to register and sign up, or can they just directly access the webinar and just attend?
It would be it's a sign up. So it will be on the website crohnscolitis.ie. And it's the events page, the events tab at the very top of the page. People can pop in their details and they'll get emailed the link. If anyone has any issues in doing so, I know the weather is causing all sorts of issues today, and they can just email into info@crohnscolitis.ie, and I'll be happy to sign them up if needed.
And that's CROHNSCOLITIS.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we wish you all the best with it. You're a walking advert for having a life and a full life after a stoma. And it's been a pleasure. Victoria, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I hope we get a large attendance at the seminar, the webinar tomorrow, and that it's a huge success, and I'm sure it will be. Victoria, thank you indeed.
Thank you very much.
That's
Thanks,
Victoria Splander from Cork, I presume.
Yes.
It's I'm a Waterford man myself, so I did recognise the neighbour's accent. City or further west?
I'm from the city, but I'm living East Cork now.
You're East Cork now, so you're closer to Youghal, that direction.
I'm I'd say about 10 minutes from Youghal.
Oh, very good indeed, yeah. I'm actually a Waterford man. My mother was from near Lismore, so...
Ah, lovely. Okay.
Great indeed. Right. And on that friendly note, we'll say, Victoria, again, thank you very much indeed. It's 11:22. Take a short break, back after these.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
There's value in something so fresh you can actually hear it. At Lidl, our team makes sure our fruit and veg is always top of the crop, with quality checks throughout the day for high quality tastes at our lowest prices. Like our mixed peppers 3-pack, 43% off, now $1.19 with Lidl Plus. Lidl, more to value.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom t-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
County Donegal Blackface Sheep Breeders Association 68th Annual Show and Sale of Shearling Rams and Ram Lambs will take place in Ballybofey and Stranraer Mart. Show on Friday 3rd of October at 2 p.m, with the sale on Saturday 4th at 12 noon.
All innovative, all inspiring, all yours. Discover the Audi 261 range with Audi All Access at your local dealership. Join us at our nationwide open house event from October 17th to 24th and experience exhilarating test drives, unmissable offers and exclusive product upgrades. Book a test drive with Audi All Access today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Shekelatha Ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugat ag Airgrid. Uproar agus Vorbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobal a guachtu, Éire a guachtu. Teshe.
Fé chuig nóméid taréis a héandéig. And if I've messed that up, apologies. Let's take a few of your comments before we go to our next guest on Zoom. Good morning, Donal. On my way to work this morning, there are signs up on the Rafo to Convoy Road for hedge cutting. Did these hedges not need cutting before today? Why are they being cut when there's a storm warning? There's a lot of hedge cutting going on at the moment, and I know this is seasonal because I know hedge cutting is actually banned. I think during the summer months it may be, I don't know the precise dates, but I think there's a ban on hedge cutting for a certain number of months. So there's a lot of hedge cutting going on at the moment. Why is there 10 or 15 big bus 16-seaters allowed to park in car parks in Ballybofey's Main Street? They're blocking all pay and display parks, and traffic warden and Gardaí are turning a blind eye. This is illegal. There are no licensed taxis in the town, so says a caller. With regards to the situation in the Middle East, Patrick says a large majority of people don't speak about Israel and Hamas as they're afraid to speak out. Hamas are a former terrorist organisation. If they were in Ireland, that would completely change our way of life. How can 20 people head out on a Mediterranean cruise and class it as humanitarian aid just because they're on a flotilla? Israel will look after these people medically and even pay for their flights home, yet these people want the Irish government to get involved. We hear from one side too much. Just because you're the loudest, it doesn't mean you're right. We were speaking earlier on about the presidential election campaign and the fact that a number of others, Maria Steen, Gareth Churden and others didn't get onto the ballot paper, and I did make the point that processes were followed, and that would be the government's argument. Well, the caller says processes may well have been followed by the letter, but these processes were tailored by successive governments to deny the people access to a totally independent presidential candidate. Another person now, who are these people texting into your show, Donal, who believe Hamas started all this on October 7th? Do they not read history? It's the Israeli lobby alive and well in the current Irish government. We also spoke briefly about property tax earlier on, and a caller says, I bought an old house. We completely renovated it ourselves at our leisure. We had it down to the block walls, and revenue are looking now for nearly €1,000 for vacant home tax for the 2 years, as I didn't pay in time unless I can get contractors to do something up to confirm it was not habitable. We did not have the contractors doing any work, so I can't get them the information they're looking for, even though I have loads of photos with nothing in the house. So says a caller. Another caller wishing all the best to Freddie Wilkie, retiring from Donegal Creameries after 44 years. That's from Lauren, Darren, Ellie and Molly. In regards to Snapchat charging, the photo page Flickr charges when you reach a certain amount of photos, but if Facebook charge you for using it, would you still use it? No, is the answer. I suppose it depends on how much the monthly payments would be, but still, that's from Jared and Ballykelly. I'll give you an example. I used to use PhotoBucket online all the time. I used PhotoBucket. I found PhotoBucket a very good program. PhotoBucket started charging. I stopped using PhotoBucket. It's as simple as that. Well, nothing is really as simple as that, but that's the way that one panned out. And again, huge congratulations to the whole team at Highland on being nominated and shortlisted for 3 IMRO awards. Well done, well deserved. Hope you win. And that's from Mary, and we hope so too. Now, let's go to Ballyliffin. Well, we're certainly going to North Inishowen because we're joined on Zoom this morning by Michael McLaughlin, who's going to speak to us about a very important event taking place in Ballyliffin over the coming days. Michael, a very good morning to you.
How are you doing, Donal? How's things?
Very well indeed. Doing the best. Michael, film festival taking place in Ballyliffin over the weekend. Hopefully the weather will not impact too much on proceedings. But Ballyliffin is establishing itself as a very important film destination and centre within the county.
It is. It's a result, I suppose, Donal, of the last 9 years of the event taking place here in Ballyliffin. It's hard to believe that 9 years have passed since our first outing in the village. And yeah, you're right. It's becoming a very important component on the cultural calendar, I suppose, of the county, number one. But also it now, becomes an important part of a filmmaker's journey in terms of getting their work out and seen in front of an audience. So I know a lot of filmmakers nationally and some internationally as well now that getting onto into the programme in Ballyliffin is something that they're striving for. So that's, I suppose, testament to how well we've run this event over the last 9 years and hopefully continue to do in the future.
I know Aidan and the crew at the Donegal Film Office are doing fantastic work, but it certainly seems to me that there's been a growth in the number of films being made in Donegal, both in terms of international people coming in, and we've seen the big ones, the Of Saints and Sinners with Liam Neeson and so on. But it seems to me what we're also seeing is locally grown filmmakers starting from the ground and making films within Donegal, about Donegal, with Donegal people. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Donegal Film Office and what's being done in Ballyliffin by people like yourselves is playing a huge part in that.
Yeah, so we're all just components, I suppose, in that drive for Donegal to become, first and foremost, I suppose, a location, because we have everything here. We have the scenery, we have the cast and crew, we have the people, the skill sets that are needed to pull sort of major productions off. But I suppose a lot of that starts with like smaller, homegrown people getting a camera with up in front of a few mates and starting to film stuff, and then just watching that progression as they become more and more skilled and get into the bigger productions, as you mentioned, like the likes of Obituary, like a TV series that's done quite well, and we're proud to be having its world premiere of season 2 at the festival this year. But you definitely see the same names coming up again and again. We see them from short films at the very beginning, and then now you're seeing them on RTE as very skilled crew and personnel. So I suppose people need to buy into that, and are buying into that Donegal can provide everything, not just the scenery, but the crew and the cast, and required to make very high-end productions.
And I suppose it's stating the obvious to an extent, but the more productions you have, the more homegrown people you draw that will have the skills to assist those productions. And I suppose when a production team is looking at locations, if you can say to them, yes, we can give you X, we can give you Y, we can give you Z, and we have those on site, you don't have to bring them in. That's just going to make Donegal even more likely to get that commission, because the more you can make the director and the producer's life easy, the more likely they are to come to you.
100%, and there is a track record now, and there are a number of productions to look back on. So producers will be saying, well, who worked on Obituary? Who worked on Star Wars, for instance, when it was here? Who worked in Saints and Scholars? So Saints and Sinners. So there's definitely a track record for people to look back into the catalogue to see who are the people that worked on those productions, and then it kind of is a self-populating thing then that more and more stuff will come into the county as a result.
I have to say I absolutely loved Obituary season 1. My only gripe being that they completely airbrushed the Rory Gallagher statue out of Ballyshannon, which just looks completely wrong to me. But that said, I suppose that had to be done, obviously. But I thought Obituary season 1 was absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to see season 2. But as well as the premiere of season 2, what else is going to be shown at the festival over the course of the weekend?
So we have a jam-packed lineup again of work right across the weekend, starting this evening and actually starting at the earlier time of 6 o'clock. We normally would have our opening feature at 8 p.m. on the Friday night, but we've decided to do something different this year. We're just trying to, I suppose, extend the length of the festival. So we're very much a 2-day festival. It's really Saturday and Sunday with one film on the Friday to kick things off, our opening feature presentation. But this year we're pulling that forward a little bit, and at 6 p.m. Tonight we are showing Focla and Canvas, which is words on canvas in English. And it is a music documentary following David Keenan, who's a very well established musician in Ireland, and just following his life over 500 days to kind of discover how musicians in this country work in a world of algorithms like Spotify and the likes, and how the challenges that they get working on the live circuit in the country. So that is kicking off at 6 o'clock. We're very excited to have that as a new element to the program, and we have the director coming along to give a Q&A. Paddy Hayes is going to do a Q&A at the end of that. So that's our first program of events. And then at 8 o'clock, as usual, we have our feature presentation, which is another Irish language film, partially Irish language film called Intus, which is Damien McCann's new film, which is imagined to be set in Donegal. So it looks like it is set in Donegal to all intents and purposes. And it is about a robbery of a credit union in the county. So it's a comedy drama, but it's well worth coming along to. And this will be the Donegal premiere of that. Then across the weekend, we have a jam-packed lineup, as I said, of feature films, of short films, animation, music videos, and really showcasing the best of work that is available in the industry in Ireland and internationally today.
How important is it that, as well as the opportunities through either cinemas or the terrestrial television stations, we now have the growth of streaming, and we have the potential to get a film shown, be it on Netflix or be it on Amazon Prime or be it on wherever in the States or across Europe. And also, of course, we have YouTube, and there's far more opportunities for filmmakers to get their work out there. Anyone can put a film up on YouTube, so there's a way of getting the work out there. However, there's also a question of getting your work out there in a way that pays for the work and that monetizes the work and that makes sure that, a filmmaker isn't a charity, a producer isn't a charitable case, and directors, actors, producers, etc. need payment for their work. Are we entering into a situation where it's a lot easier to have your work seen, but a lot harder to get paid for it?
Yeah, I think so. And I suppose it depends on what stage of your filmmaking journey you are at. So for emerging filmmakers, of course, getting stuff up onto YouTube is important, and you have an immediate audience. And I suppose they'll very quickly tell you how good or how bad that piece of work is. And then you know that kind of feedback helps people to make their next work better, I guess. Regarding the question of money, yeah, obviously as you get into the likes of Netflix, you're getting into bigger. But I suppose there is a journey for a filmmaker, you know, starting with the likes of YouTube and then getting on to the likes of Disappear Here to film festivals, being part of that festival circuit journey, and then hopefully to be able to make a few quid on the back of it as they get into the likes of the streamers as well. Vimeo is another one that is now paying filmmakers for their work. So there are definitely a number of avenues, not just the big ones like Netflix. There's a number of online ones that do pay for content as well.
Is there one Mubi, it's called, which seems to be doing sort of art house films and more independent works that you mightn't see elsewhere?
Absolutely, and that's really important part of the circuit as well. I suppose it just depends on what the audience is interested in, and there's quite specific avenues for that interest.
What's the future going to hold for the Ballyliffin Film Festival? It's operating as a showcase, and it's becoming a very important showcase. Could you see Ballyliffin getting into a sort of the sphere of awards, where a lot of film festivals will give out awards? And okay, we all know about Cannes, we all know about Venice, we all know about some of the big Sundance ones in the US. But I mean, there's a whole network of film festivals which are viewed as important within the industry. Do you see Ballyliffin becoming part of that sector where, you know, a film gets an award at Ballyliffin, that's going to create waves and that's going to get attention sort of across these islands and further afield?
Absolutely. I mean, we do have an award ceremony every year. We have an award. We have awards in every single category, from acting through to production, through to, you know, student work. So right across it, I think we have 13 awards that we issue every year. We have big hopes for this festival. There's no question. The aspiration here is for this to be as big as any of the international festivals that are running around the world. You know, we're 9 years old. You know, Cork, for instance, is on next week. It's 60 years old. It's the oldest, I think 65 maybe. It's the oldest film festival in Ireland. So we've got quite a bit of catch up to do in terms of like how long we're on the scene. But, you know, be under no illusion, we have big aspirations for this to be mentioned in the same vein as the likes of South by Southwest or Tribeca or Cannes. And absolutely, why not? If we can get people to come to this neck of the woods, first and foremost, they will return. And I think as long as we continue to build on the success of it over the last few years, there's no reason why we couldn't be mentioned in the same vein as those.
Finally, if anyone wants to travel to Inishowen over the course of the next few days and actually go to one or more of the presentations, how can they go about that?
So the best thing to do is have a look at the website, which is disappearherefilmfest.com. The entire program of work is available there. You can pay online, so the tickets are available online via that website if you wanted to get in advance of your travel, but also tickets will be available for all shows at the box office prior to the screening.
Yeah. Michael, looking forward to what's going to be a great weekend, I'm sure. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning, and we wish you and your colleagues all the best with it.
Thank you, Donal.
Take care, Michael. Time for a break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry stock clearance sale. Save big on vanity units, taps, mirrors, radiators and more. Enjoy up to 40% off My Life and as much as 60% off Crosswater. Starts Monday 29th of September, 9 a.m. and Saturday 4th of October, 1 p.m. Don't miss these massive savings at Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry.
When it's gone, it's gone. This week's new Wigging at Home Store and more. All living room throws are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price living room throws are gone, they're gone. Also, all Halloween decorations are still half price.
But when our Halloween decorations and photo frame wiggings are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
At FBD Insurance, we've been supporting businesses across Donegal, Sligo and beyond for over 50 years. Pop into your local insurance experts in the FBD branch on Main Street, Letterkenny, or contact us on 074 912 6299 and see how we can support your business today. Open from 9:30am to 5pm Monday to Friday. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Business insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hi, Kiva here from Barry Brown Cars. Right now, you can get behind the wheel of a brand new 252 Suzuki with 0% finance and a 10-year warranty, giving you a whole decade of confidence on the road. Visit Barry Brown Cars in Milford or Donegal Town today and discover how you can drive away with 10 years of worry-free motoring.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in-stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in-stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in stock on mattresses. Best in-stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring. With a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Always lower prices.
Real savings are adding up with Super Value. Make great savings like save 33% on Super Value Fresh Irish Strip Loin Steak. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get €5 Cocoa Noodles Curry or Chicken Flavour 10-pack, €3 for Heinz Beans 4-pack and €10 Cushell Toilet Tissue 24-roll, giving you more change in your pocket. Super Value. Real savings, real difference.
On Business Matters this week, I'll be speaking with Diane Nesbitt, founder of the bespoke bakery Purple Velvet, which she started in her kitchen during COVID and which now employs 11 people. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news.
Shop Homeland's October mega deals now until October 21st. Save 10% off all regatta jackets, 10% off Snickers trousers and shorts, save 15% off all bird tables and feeders, and save €10 off Dulux Final Matte or Soft Sheen Pure Brilliant White 10-litre paint. All this and more in store and online at homeland.ie.
Meet Siobhan. She made big savings on her car insurance when she made the switch to Outsurance.
Hi, I'm Siobhan. It's true, I saved €298 when I made the switch. And with the Out bonus, I'll get 10% of my premiums back, in cash, after 3 years claim-free.
Class. For a competitive car insurance quote like Siobhan's, call 1-800-600-400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC, trading as Outsurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
A chánaí cóirí income féin fasúna. Tá an dáta deire le hiag agus tílacha an tainú lá strucha di ar a fór ag dridum linn. Má dhéanaan tú íceacht agus tílacha trí Ross, jói tú sína ama go dtí an níú lá déag de bhína saona. Le haid tuile ólis nó chun chlóra lá Ross, téchuig www.revenue.ie/íag agus tílacha. Íag agus tílacha an am.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Refresh your wardrobe this season with key autumn-winter essentials. Discover our extensive range of fashion, accessories, homeware and more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Well, Storm Amy is on the way, and more discussion about that in the remaining 17 minutes or so of the programme this morning. Weather forecast from Met Éireann: rain will clear eastwards this afternoon, followed by scattered showers, heavy at times, strong to gale force south to southwest winds veering westerly, increasing to storm or violent storm force at times along coastal areas during the afternoon and evening. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Tonight, scattered showers of longer spells of rain, heavy at times. Lowest overnight temperatures 7 to 9, again fresh to strong westerly winds near gale to gale force strength. close to Atlantic coasts. Tomorrow, a band of showery rain moving down from the northwest early in the morning. Heavy falls at times. That'll clear early on with scattered showers to follow, easing over the course of the afternoon and becoming more isolated. Top temperatures tomorrow 12 to 13 in mostly fresh to strong westerly winds, near gale or gale force strength at times along coastal areas. Just looking at Met Éireann's projected map there for 3 o'clock this afternoon, they're looking at 65 kilometre winds on the Donegal coast, Leitrim coast, Sligo coast, and down toward Mayo, 75 kilometres an hour in or around about Galway, and then that's falling back to 60 when you get down to Limerick and down toward Kerry. Now, the Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders Show and Sale, which was to have taken place today in Rafo Mart, has been cancelled as a result of the impending weather. I just want to give a final mention to where Greg and Caroline and Shannon and many of the team are today. They're on the road. They're en route to the Lara Estate Hotel in Kilkenny, where the IMRO Radio Awards are taking place this evening. Greg and the 9 Till Noon Show team are shortlisted in the Interactive Speech Programme category. Oisín Kelly is shortlisted for Sports Broadcaster of the Year, and the news team is shortlisted for Local Region News Programme, specifically linked to election coverage that took place at the general election toward the end of last year. And I stress when I say the news team, I don't just mean the 4 people who read the news. I mean Greg as head of news and Caroline and the support team that worked with us over the course of that weekend. And if we win, the award shall be theirs as much as ours. Now, one Highland Radio staff member, so as I say, most of Highland Radio is on the road at the moment, en route to Kilkenny. There's another Highland Radio staff member who is not in studio today, but isn't on the road to Kilkenny. He's in Dublin for a very interesting reason. David James, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. You're partly right. I'm still back in studio today. What we're about to talk about actually happened on Wednesday.
Oh, it's been pre-recorded. Right. Okie doke. Well, that'll teach me to think up fancy intros. David, tonight is the Late Late Show country music programme. It's become one of the staples of the Late Late, and I'm delighted to confirm that David James has become one of the staples of that programme. You're on for 3 hours. You're on your third run on that particular programme tonight.
Yeah, and it's always such a great honour to be invited onto that show, no matter what the capacity. Like the last couple of times I've been on there, I've been singing solo. Tonight that's not the case, but it's still such a great honour to be invited on and play any part in the Late Late Show Country Music Special. And tonight is actually a fantastic show. There's some great guests on there. Priscilla Presley, who of course, as we know, was married to Elvis Presley. She's on there, and she gives the most fantastic interview. You're definitely going to want to see that. And then Hollywood actor John C. Reilly makes an appearance. He was actually a surprise guest. We didn't know that he was going to be there at all. And I'm a huge Step Brothers fan, so whenever he walked into the green room, my jaw hit the floor. I think it was the most starstruck I think I've ever been. But it turns out that John C. Reilly is a huge country music fan, loves country music, loves what we do here in Ireland, loves the American stuff. So he's there again, gives a fantastic interview, and might even sing a little verse of a country song as well.
Oh, look forward to that. That will be very interesting indeed. Can you give us a preview of what you'll be doing?
Yeah, so at the very top of the programme, the entire cast is in there, and we're all singing. And we're singing an old classic that everyone is going to know, and the exact same again at the end of the show. And the end of the show will be led by this year's inductee to the Country Music Hall of Fame. I can't say who received this award, but the person who did receive it is a very, very deserving recipient, and we're all delighted for that person as an industry. So yeah, it's set to be an exciting show.
And I'm sure they'll all be very well known to the audience and to the listeners of your show in particular.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's great that RTE give us that platform, but also, the country music special has really earned its place, because over the last number of years, it has shown its strength in with regards to ratings. It's always one of their top rated shows next to the Toy Show. So whilst it's great for them to give country music the platform, it's truly a deserved platform as well.
Brilliant. David, we really look forward to it, and I am delighted to confirm that I was wrong when I said that you wouldn't be doing your show today. Your listeners can look forward to your company between 2:30 and 5 o'clock this evening for the Jive Time. Bright and breezy as always, and then see you on the Goggle Box tonight in the Country Show. David, we'll see you a bit later on, and thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Donal.
Right, Donal. Okie doke, that's David James there appearing on the Late Late Country Music Show special tonight, and that will be a very interesting discussion indeed. Now, in the 10 minutes or so we have left, let's talk about Storm Amy and advice with regards to what to do. Joined by Killian Kelly from the RNLI. There is, of course, a marine sea warning in place, and as I understand it, the actual warning at sea is a red warning, which basically I would interpret as meaning don't go out there. Killian, good morning. Is that what you'd be saying?
Yes, a red warning is obviously the most severe warning we can get. We have a very, very dangerous system coming in with massive waves and a lot of wind behind it. So that particular combination coming into the coast will create very dangerous conditions all around the coast of County Donegal, indeed the whole northwest. The big risk for people that are near the coast is what I call a surge coming in. So if you're on a beach or a coastal path that you normally walk, and the sea is 200 meters away from you, a particular combination of waves and wind can actually push a surge up towards you and can catch people out very easily in those situations. So the advice there is to stay high and stay well back from it. There is a temptation in these big storms to go down, and we all like our photographs for Instagram and Facebook and the videos and all that, but you have to stay well back, stay a lot further back from the coast than you would think you would have to, because those surges can indeed be very dangerous.
And we have across the country seen a number of tragedies in recent years where people have been hill walking or coastal walking and they've been caught out like that, and they have actually been pulled into the sea and sadly lost.
Yeah, indeed, and I mean, you know, as you're aware, we had a tragedy last weekend there in Donegal Bay. There, a fisherman from Killybegs, lost his life. And the sea is dangerous on a good day, unfortunately, if you can get caught out. But it's just easier to get caught out in this bad weather. It's very, very dangerous levels of surf and wind. And, you know, the risks that people take, sometimes they think, well, I'll be okay because I know the path, or I'll be okay because, I'm only going down the road, but not in a red weather warning. Stay well back from the coast.
And in terms of, your own colleagues in RNLI, we know you'll be there, the Coast Guard is there, and please God, no one does anything that might necessitate a call to the Coast Guard this evening. Let's hope that everyone just stays off the water today for the next 24 hours or so, and that you and your colleagues can spend the evening sitting in front of a fire watching David James on the Late Late Show.
Well, of course, but if you do see somebody in difficulty, whether inland or on the coast, ring 999 or 112. Some of our boats, like our boat that is stationed in Lough Swilly there, and our boat that is stationed in Arnmore, they are what we call all-weather boats, and those crew are trained to go out, but it is a risk.
Yeah.
It is definitely a risk.
Thank you very much indeed, Killian Kelly then from RNLI. So the warning is, as far as the marine is concerned, there's a red weather warning in place on the seas around. So please don't go to sea, and please stay well back if you're walking along the coast, because it's potentially very dangerous. Killian, thank you very much indeed. Brian Cannon is Director of Roads and Transportation with Donegal County Council. Now, Brian, we know that the National Emergency Team has been meeting today. There's been a briefing nationally, and then there's been local briefings as well. The warnings are in place, with the yellow warning coming into effect in about 7 minutes, and then the red warning coming into place, the orange warning, coming into place at 2. You and your team are ready for this?
Yeah, Donal, we've been preparing since yesterday. There was the yellow rain warning in place yesterday as well, and we were pre-deploying sandbags at various locations around the county and ensuring that our stocks are all replenished in each of our depots. But yeah, today has really been focused on preparing for the onset of these high winds, and as you said, we've got quite a windy 24 hours and a wet 24 hours with a yellow rain warning coming back in from midnight tonight. It was very appropriate as well too, Donal, that you had the previous speaker on from the RNLA given the red marine warning and the fact that Donegal has 1,100 kilometres of coast. Much of it, or most, all of it beautiful, but much of it exposed, and the need for the public to stay back, stay high and stay dry in relation to the coast. Back on land, Donal, we'll be closing the Harry Bellini Bridge from 2 o'clock today, just given the high winds, that's as a precaution, and that'll stay closed until at least 10 o'clock. But we'll keep that time under review depending on how the winds are at that stage. But yeah, it's really about preparing now, ensuring that we respond to issues as they arise. With the high winds, the trees generally still being in full leaf, there is obviously the potential for trees to come down to either block roads or to bring utility lines down with them. And I suppose the public need to be careful when it comes to fallen trees, that they could be intertangled with electricity lines and the danger that would bring. And obviously if the public see fallen electricity lines, to contact the ESB emergency services on their contact numbers rather than trying to deal with that issue themselves.
A number of people contacting us asking about driving and asking, for instance, is it safe to drive from Dublin to Letterkenny this evening? Is it safe to drive around Donegal this evening? Now, the warning is orange, it's not red, and that's the difference maybe between now and Storm Éowyn. The warning at Storm Éowyn was up another level, and that was of a scale we hadn't seen in years. Presumably, you're ready for the worst, but you wouldn't be anticipating today will be as serious as Storm Éowyn was back at the start of the year.
We would hope not, and I suppose part of the national briefings we would ask those types of questions from the Met Éireann colleagues just in relation to the predictions. But yeah, it's we're preparing for an aftermath of a storm, and again we all hope it won't be to the same level as Storm Éowyn. But I suppose people have to make decisions and travel, themselves. What I would say is, in relation to Donegal, Map Alerter is a free text alert service that people can sign up to, and it's through that channel in particular that we will be issuing any alerts in relation to any road closures that would happen over the period of the storm. As I say, that's free, and also just to keep in touch on our social media platforms on Facebook and on X, those Map Alerter alerts are also repeated on those platforms.
And obviously we'll be keeping in touch with the council, with ESB and with others over the coming hours, just to get any news that out there. So Brian, for the moment, thank you very much indeed, and thanks to Killian before you as well. The message really, folks, is look, be careful out there, be cautious. It's an orange warning. It means be very careful. Road conditions should be by and large drivable, but as Brian said there, if there are road closures, they'll be well publicised in advance. Expect the unexpected, and I suppose, look, if you don't need to travel, probably look, if it might be a night to sit in front of the fire, as we said, and just relax and let the storm ride out. But for the moment, Brian, thank you very much indeed. Thanks to Killian. Indeed, thanks to everybody for their contribution here. And that was Brian there and Killian before him. Again, congratulations to Freddie Wilkie after a very successful, a long career with the Creamery. A well-deserved break beckons. And we've just been asked to mention that Rathmullen will again welcome teams of university students on the 10th to 12th of October. That's the weekend after this coming weekend, for a weekend of sailing team racing. Races commence at 10:15 on Saturday and start at around 9:45 on Sunday. Teams from all across the country will be taking part in this event on the water in Rathmullen. Thank you to all who took part in the programme this morning. All the best to the team who are in Kilkenny. Production was an interesting one. Caroline Orr planned the show. She was here for the first hour. Caroline is now on the road. Mark Gallagher has been producing for the past 2 hours and doing an admirable job. Mark, you might be talking yourself from another job there, the way things are going. Thank you to all our contributors. Most importantly, thank you to you for listening. John Breslin's up next around the Northwest.
Malin and Neve Columba are gearing up for this Sunday's Donegal Intermediate Football Championship final.